Hi collective, welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am the Nosy Witch and this is my channel, Nosy Witch Tarot. If you have not been here before, I do collective pick-a-card readings here on YouTube. Just a heads up, my readings do tend to be fairly long, they tend to be deep dives. So grab a hot or cold beverage of choice, get settled, get cozy, because we have a lot to get through today. So in today's reading, we are asking, what does it feel like to be yours? And I wanted to do this reading because a lot of you, I know you have huge hearts. I know that you are lover girls or lover guys, and I know that you just have a lot of love to give. But I want to ask, what is it like to be on the receiving end of that? And I want to ask that because some of you might not be aware of how incredible it feels to be loved by you. So I'm here to tell you, I'm here to hype you up, I'm here to share with you how it feels to be yours, how it feels to be cared for by you, to be loved by you, and to belong to you. What do people experience in terms of the way that you share your love with them? And I just want to make it clear, this is not exclusive to people in romantic relationships. There are many different ways we can experience love, but this is about how it feels to be somebody who is cared for by you, what it's like to be a big part of your life. So this could very well be about romantic relationships, but it could also be about friends, family, even causes or passions that you deeply care for. Whoever or whatever you throw your love into, we are talking about that. And we are asking, when you make someone or something yours, what is that like? What does that entail? How does it feel? What is that experience like overall? So as usual, your reading will be split up into two main sections. We are going to start your reading off by doing an energy check. We are going to be looking at one oracle card and various tarot cards, and we are going to be asking, first of all, who are you? What are you like and what is your energy looking like right now? So hopefully you will identify some aspects of yourself within the energy check, and you can use this as confirmation you have chosen the right pile. We are then going to be moving along to the tarot portion of the reading, where we are going to be doing a deeper dive and asking specifically, what does it feel like to be yours? So that's going to be more about how others around you experience your love, what they feel when they're a part of your life, and the impact that has on them. So usual disclaimer here, these are collective readings, not every single detail will resonate. Please take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. If a message isn't for you, that's okay. It might just be for one individual who chose the same pile as you. If you are finding nothing is resonating, it might just not be your reading today, and that's okay too. You are always welcome back for the next one. Please know that you do not ever have to accept anything as your story if it simply isn't, and if something isn't sounding right to you, please feel free to disengage from this one today. With all of that said, let's go right ahead and introduce the piles today. So over here we have pile 1 with the Orchid Valley Tarot and the car sticker. Here we have pile 2 with the Healing Waves Tarot and the octopus sticker. Here we have pile 3 with the Adventure Time Tarot and the sunglasses sticker. Here we have pile 4 with the Modern Witch Tarot and the hair clip sticker. And here we have pile 5 with the Lovely Ladies Tarot and the Strawberry Milk sticker. Once you have chosen a pile, please head to the description box or pin comment below. Timestamps will be listed there and they will take you to the start of your chosen reading. You are always welcome to choose more than one pile today if more than one is calling to you. With that said, if you guys like the reading, please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. That just helps me and this channel out so much. And on a personal note, I just genuinely enjoy hearing from you guys and finding out the little bits that resonated for you. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to these readings and give me any engagement that you are able to. It really does mean the world to me, and I can't thank you enough for just being here and just sending me your beautiful energy. Lots of love, and I will see you at your chosen pile collective. Hi Pile 1 Collective, if you chose Pile 1 and you chose the Orchid Valley Tarot and the car sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a thorough breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out the introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. But today we are going to be asking, how does it feel to be yours? So what is it like to be loved by you, cared for you, and belong to you? And I wanted to do this reading today because very often we know how we give love, we know how we receive love from others, but we don't always get to experience how exactly it feels to receive our own personal brand of love, because we always tend to give it out. So this reading is going to explain what it feels like to be loved by you specifically. We are going to be starting off by looking at your energy, and then we are going to move along to what it feels like to be yours. Now, this is not exclusive to romantic relationships. This reading is for anybody who has love to give in their life, whether it's in a romantic way or whether it's to family or to friends or to causes or passion projects. This is about the impact you leave on people and places when you care, when you love them, and when they are a big part of your life. Usual disclaimer, it's a collective reading and not every single detail will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. But with all of that said, let's get started with your reading today. So we are going to be starting off by looking at your overarching energy. We're mostly going to be looking at tarot cards today, but we are looking at this one oracle card here, and this will be an astrological sign to represent a part of your energy. If this sign is a prominent sign in your chart, or you notice any synchronicities on this card, please take that as extra confirmation, but please note the sign mentioned does not have to be prominent in your chart for this to still be your pile. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at what we pulled for you today, pile 1. Okay, so we have got Taurus. Relevant dates are April 19th to May 20th. Traits are dedicated, responsible, practical, stubborn, inflexible, possessive. Element is air. Ruling planet is Venus. Major arcana card is the Hierophant. Stones are emerald and rose quartz. Colours are green and pink. Lucky numbers are 5, 6 and 12. And flowers are poppy and rose. And I'm going to take 4 tarot cards from the top of your pile. And again, this will also represent your overarching energy. So we have got the 4 of Wands. We've got the Page of Wands. We've got the Magician. And we've got the 2 of Cups. So like I said, later in the reading, we're going to get into how you love, specifically what that feels like. But this part of the reading will just be more about you and your energy. Okay, so first of all, with you guys choosing the car sticker, something about cars could be relevant. Maybe you're thinking of getting a new car soon, or you're going to look at cars soon, or maybe your car has just gone in for its MOT. It could be that you work with cars even. Maybe some of you are mechanics or you work in that kind of field. Or maybe you like working on cars as a hobby. That might just be a random message for one person. It's not going to apply to the vast majority here. But another message I'm getting is if you do drive, if you have a car, there could be something identifiable about that car, like something about it that's a bit more personal to you. Maybe some of you have, for instance, like personalized number plates, or there's a certain sticker on the back of your car, or maybe it's a unique color. So maybe when you're driving around in your city, when people see that brand of car in that specific color, they know that it's most likely going to be you. I'm also getting something about specific mods, and especially with us getting Taurus, Taurus always makes me think of wanting things to be like beautiful and comfortable. So some of you could have certain mods in your car, or you've put certain things in to make your driving experience more smooth or more comfortable. I'm also seeing empty cups in like the cup holders. So some of you have empty cups in your car that you haven't taken out yet and put in recycling or whatever. So please go and do that if that's you. Some of you have like wrappers in your cars right now that you need to get rid of, because that's the image I'm getting. I know that one was kind of random, but it was coming through. But you know, even if this is not related to your car or anything like that, there is something about you always trying your best to make things comfortable. So if you know that you have to do like a long drive or you have to do a long haul flight, this could be you bringing a particular cushion from home for back support, or maybe bringing something to your desk at work so that your office is a nicer place to be. Like that could be something that you're known for. You could be the kind of person where if you go somewhere, like to a friend's house or whatever, you are always bringing a spare pair of pajamas or something like that, knowing that you really prioritize your comfort and you just like feeling warm and cozy. You guys could have one of those big, I can't remember what they're called, but it's like a blanket, but it's like a hoodie. Is it like an hoodie or something like that? I can't remember. I might have got that wrong. But you guys could always bring that kind of thing, like wherever you go, a hoodie or a blanket or a hoodie blanket. I'm also getting something about some of you being suckers for cutesy items. So even if you are a fully grown adult, if you go to a shop where there are like cute plushies, cute stuffed animals, maybe you're always tempted to buy one. Maybe you have a collection of plushies in your room, or you're the kind of person where like some of your childhood toys, you've had to hold on to them. You can't get rid of them all because you're quite sentimental like that. I'm hearing something specifically about items with a face on. Like if something's cute and it has a little smiley face on, you almost feel bad if you don't buy it or if you don't talk to it. So maybe it's stationery or homeware or things like that. Even if you don't have Taurus or Libra in your chart, it wouldn't surprise me if you had Venus in some kind of dominant position. Maybe your ruler is Venus, or you have a lot of energy going on in your second house or seventh house, or maybe there's something to do with a Venus or second house transit going on for you right now. It could also be, for example, Libra rising, Venus in the first house, Venus conjunct ascendant, or conjunct some personal planets of yours. But let me tell you, something hits different about Venus dominant beauty. I used to have a Libra rising friend who was so devastatingly beautiful, but if you saw a picture of her, it would not even do her justice. Like, she was like living art. And it's hard to identify specifically what made her so gorgeous. Like, of course, her facial features were nice, but if you took apart the features, they weren't necessarily unique. Like, some of her actual features were quite similar to my features and to other people's, but there was something about the way everything harmonized together on her face that made you just want to stare at her a little bit longer. She also always looked really put together, even on days where I know she hadn't made much of an effort. Like, she was great at styling herself, and even when she didn't dress super fancy, it was like this effortless, natural kind of beauty. So people could say that that's how you come across, like all your features play really nicely together, and you're someone who knows how to put a look together and make it work, and you kind of radiate this sense of beauty and elegance. Venusian beauty always makes me think of softness and lusciousness, so that could be how certain features of yours are described. It doesn't matter if you're a man, this isn't a bad thing. Feminine features are enviable and beautiful no matter what your gender identity is. So that could be like gorgeous softness in terms of your body, having beautiful curves or soft skin, plush lips, something about you looking very touchable, like you are kind of a delight to people's senses. You could smell absolutely divine as well, because I always think of scents with Taurus. You could also have a really, really pleasant speaking or singing voice. Some of you could sing really well, or people think that you would, they assume that you would. I'm hearing like people could listen to you talk all day or something along those lines, so you definitely might have a really nice voice. Taurus rules the throat, so there could be something that people like about your throat. I didn't even mean it like that. It's not that kind of reading, but you can take it if you want. Some of you could be great at doing like ASMR, for instance, because not in a bad way, but your voice could be so pleasant and melodic that it might actually help people relax or help people go to sleep or something like that. I don't know why, but I can imagine some of you being very skilled at talking to children, because you're not like brash or abrasive. You can speak gently. I'm getting like your voice could be very silky smooth, sort of like honey. It doesn't mean that your voice has to be sort of girlish or high-pitched or anything like that. It could have a depth to it, but it seems kind of velvety, like it really calms people down. You could enjoy your indulgence, your home comforts, your items that just make life easier. You could have a keen eye for colours and home decor and putting the right things together. You could be very gifted when it comes to making your surrounding environment a pleasant place to be, whether it's just via you existing or you up-leveling the space you occupy by adding amazing things to it. Or maybe you just having an overall warm, pleasant and enjoyable kind of aura. You could be someone who is chill until you're not. Like, you're pretty laid back until someone pushes you to your limits and then it's game over. You could really love being at home. Like, maybe you're kind of introverted, but when you go out and socialize, you're somebody who knows exactly how to turn the charm on. And the thing is, as much as you might need to recharge after you spend time with people, I feel like you're somebody who gives people a life. Like, people love being around you. You are actually very, very well liked and very popular. And I think it's because you're somebody who is kind of unproblematic. You are warm and welcoming to lots of different people. And this is not to say that you can't cause a problem if somebody gets on the wrong side of you. But I think for the most part, you're just like out here enjoying life. And I'm hearing like minding your business, you're chilling, you're having a good time. And you kind of have this mindset of like, if you don't disrupt my peace, I won't disrupt yours. And I'm hearing the phrase ain't nobody got time for that. I don't know why, but maybe that's something you say. Like, you're not somebody who has time for drama and pettiness. If you wanted to be petty, you could, but for the most part, you're like, ugh, whatever. Do you know what? Your energy actually reminds me of, I think it was Power One's energy from my last reading. You give this vibe of not being overly cocky or overconfident, but having enough self-esteem to where if somebody is coming in trying to knock your confidence, you're going to be like, whatever, like, I haven't got time for that. You have a very healthy ego. You come across as stable and secure and comfortable in your own skin. But there is also like this sense of modesty with it. Like, you haven't got a superiority complex with it, basically. You give out the vibe of like, I know I'm the shit, but I don't think I'm better than other people. And you know what, Power One? I feel like if both of us ever got out of the house, we would be friends. Maybe it's my Taurus moon, I don't know, but I just feel like you are an absolute vibe to be around. I feel like you're really good at understanding people. You're just good at intuitively reading what they need, and you are good at matching energies. I also feel like you're a person who instantly makes people feel comfortable and welcome. You're someone who cares about actually listening to people one on one. Like if you were in a group setting and you see somebody is getting left out of the conversation or they are not being heard, you'd be the one to make the effort to talk to that person or to laugh at their joke. I also just feel like you're just generally charming and lovable, and you're someone who really likes to uplift the mood and energy of a room. If things were getting heated around you or there was an argument going on, I can imagine you being the kind of person to make a joke or try to diffuse the tension in some way, to tell people to like stay chill and keep things peaceful. You are good at shifting the tone and making things feel brighter again. I can also imagine you being somebody who people feel like they don't need to mask around. Like you'd be the type of friend that you can just chill with. You're very non-judgmental. You could sort of be a low maintenance friend. You don't like making drama, and you know, even if you and your friends don't see each other for a while, you are still very loyal to each other and dedicated to each other. It's like you're somebody who probably needs some of your own space from time to time, and you understand better than most that life gets in the way, so you don't get insecure over friends not replying to you straight away and things like that. You're somebody who people connect with easily, and so they want to spend a lot of one-on-one time with you. People could feel like they have really deep conversations with you. People kind of see you as having the best of both worlds, as in you are quite intellectual, you're quite rational and grounded, but at the same time, it's like you can sense a lot and feel a lot in your body, so you also understand the power of intuition and the power of gut feelings. I feel like you might need quite a lot of time to decompress and recharge and not be around people, but then when you do make an appearance, it's like you're somebody who really shows up for it. So if your friend is celebrating an important milestone, you can kind of switch on the charm and the charisma and show up and really be the life of the party and work the room, even if that's the only party you go to all year, because the rest of the time you just want to be chilling or doing your own thing. You're somebody who definitely celebrates other people's successes and you hype people up. You could find that a lot of people catch feelings for you easily or feel connected to you because you're good at making people feel important, especially when you're having conversations with individual people. It seems like you really concentrate on what they're saying and you make them feel heard. You do not have any kind of mean girl or guy energy in you at all. I feel like you're saying being mean is just a waste of your time. Like you don't have the energy for that. And you are absolutely somebody who is not afraid to dish out compliments. You're not afraid to tell someone they look good or they did something well. You're always bringing good news to people rather than criticizing them, and people love you for that. You definitely have a lot of charm and you know how to talk to people. I think you're someone who knows how to be what somebody needs in a given moment. You can get on really well with lots of different kinds of people because it's like you kind of know how to adapt to different environments and turn on different aspects of your personality, depending on who you're with or depending on the mood of the room. It just seems like you tend to bring the energy that's needed to any space you occupy. So if it's at work, you know how to like uplift a team and motivate them. If it's at a party, you're going to make it the most fun that anyone's ever had. If it's a deep chat, you know how to nod and listen and smile and comfort people. You just know what to do and people feel safe around you due to that. People could think you're someone who reminds people to remain cheerful or look at things from a brighter side. You could be really good at kind of laughing difficult things off. You could come across as somebody who, even if you're dealing with a challenge, you make it seem quite easy breezy because you're not rattled easily, and also you know what's important. So like, for example, it won't be this one for you, but let's say you were in a car crash and your car is damaged but nobody got hurt. That is what you're going to focus on. And yeah, it's an inconvenience to get your car fixed, and you might say like, oh, it's annoying that I have to pay X amount of money, but you're not going to continually victimize yourself because of it. People might say to you like, oh, I'd be freaking out if I had to pay X amount of money for my car. But providing you have the money, you're not going to keep complaining about it because you're going to look at it like, yeah, it's annoying, but at least nobody got hurt. Like that's the main thing. So you're good at remaining chill with things like that and keeping a sense of humor even in those difficult moments. I think you're a lot of fun to be around. You have this very excited, hypey, kind of childlike humor about you, but at the same time, you also have this really down to earth, cool, chilled out vibe. When you need to be serious, you can and will be serious, but sometimes it's like you'll laugh at a dirty joke or you'll say something with a double meaning or just do something goofy and playful, and it's really sweet and people think it's very lovable that you have multiple sides to you like this. It's like you love spending time by yourself, but you're still able to be extroverted when you need to be. You're also really great at coming up with fresh ideas. Like you always find a way to come up with an idea that nobody else has thought of, and you're resourceful with it too. You can get really creative with it. It won't be this example for you exactly, but this is making me think like if somebody's running out of food and they only have like 4 ingredients left and they don't know what to make, they might say like, oh, I guess I'll just have to order a takeaway because I don't have a clue what to make with this random bunch of ingredients. But you'll kind of be able to, in those situations, like think outside of the box and put together this new exciting meal that nobody else had considered making. And whatever you put together, it just works. You use the resources you've got to come up with these brand new suggestions, and you come up with these things in a way that nobody else can. Some of you could be kind of stubborn, like once you get an idea in your head, you just don't let it go. You probably do not like being told what to do. You're probably also someone where if someone is threatening your peace or rushing you or placing any sense of urgency on you, you are going to slow down on purpose because you're mad that they tried to rush you. I don't know why, but one thing I'm getting specifically is you might be someone who, once you hear a funny quote, you get it like stuck in your head and you end up repeating it to yourself all the time and you get mad at yourself for it. I'm also getting for some of you, I don't know why, but you might be the kind of person where if your friend says a word wrong once, you would make a joke about it, but you'd keep the joke going and you'd then pronounce that word the same way that they pronounced it forever. Like you never let it go, but it's kind of in this silly, funny way. So that's what I'm getting for your oracle reading, pal one. That was all about your energy. But now we are going to move along to the tarot portion and we are going to be asking what it feels like to be yours. So this is the point where hopefully you know whether this is your pile or not. And now we are going to be asking what your loved ones feel about their experience of being on the receiving end of your devotion. Hi Pile 1 Collective, welcome back to the tarot portion of your reading. Without hesitation, let's get started and have a look at the cards we pulled for you. So I'm just going to move these cards to one side for now so we can focus on the tarot cards. Don't worry if not all the cards are in frame at first. I will check the camera once I've laid the cards and check that they are. So starting off, we have got the Nine of Wands reversed, and the clarifier is the Three of Pentacles. We have got Death, and the clarifier for Death is the Eight of Wands. We have got the Knight of Wands, and the clarifier for the Knight of Wands is Judgment. We have got the Chariot, and the clarifier for the Chariot is the World. And we have got the Wheel of Fortune, and the clarifier for the Wheel of Fortune is the High Priestess. The first phrase I'm actually getting for you, Pal 1, is that being yours makes people feel homesick for a place they have never been. Being yours feels like coming home, but it's in a way that is both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. Because it's not coming home as in like, oh, I'm finishing work and now I'm travelling to my overpriced one-bedroom apartment where the Wi-Fi always cuts out and my shower is broken. It's like the feeling of finding out that you miraculously have the keys to this dream home of yours that you pass by every single day and you somehow feel connected to, but you haven't seen inside of it yet. But a part of you deep down at your core feels like, and has always felt like, this is my home, this is for me. And so you put your key in the door, you go inside, and you're like, this is all mine, because you're amazed by what you find behind that door and how perfect the house is for you. So you're like, this feels so new, it feels so exciting, it feels like all of this, it shouldn't be mine, it's almost too good to be true, but at the same time, it feels natural. It feels like a part of me has always belonged here. There's a part of you that just feels like it's always been this way. Like, I've only just discovered the keys, but the house has been here waiting for me all this time. Maybe you go to put your keys down on the side and you're thinking, maybe I'll put a bowl for keys here, and you realise that there's already a bowl there. It's that kind of feeling. It's like some part of you knows your way around, you know how to navigate the house. It feels like somewhere you've been before, and yet there is still this excitement bubbling up. There's this sense of like, everything is a fun new discovery. It's almost the feeling of like, have I been in this house in a past life? Because my body feels at home and my body remembers, but I don't fully remember and everything still feels like a discovery. It's as though the house knows what you need and how to make you feel as though it's perfect for you, and the house is saying, I was always yours. Now imagine going back to that one-bedroom apartment now that you've had a taste of me. So in this example, you know, not to objectify you, Pal 1, but you are this dream house, and that's what it feels like to be loved by you. It feels like somebody just intrinsically knowing exactly what you need, how to give it to you, how to make you feel safe, how to care for you in the ways that you need. The people who are yours could feel like you're very, very gifted at listening to their love languages. You're good at identifying what's important to them. I was going to say you're gifted at loving them physically, and then I realised how that sounded, but then I said it anyway because why not? But I don't mean it like that necessarily. I mean, if we are talking romantic partners, I think this could very well be saying that you know what you're doing in that respect. You know how to intuit what people need, you're good at figuring that out. But I think this also means more that you're great at showing your love through your deliberate action. It's not just empty promises with you. The people who belong to you, they know that you actually show up for them in the ways that they need. And there is something about the physical self or the body being highlighted here. And again, this does not just have to relate to physical intimacy. It could be that you do throw your entire being into that, but it could be like you know the right ways to comfort people and make them feel secure through physical touch. You know, one example could be like you just intuitively knowing when your partner has had a bad day at work, and without them saying anything or you saying anything verbally, it's like your physical self knows exactly the right thing to do. So maybe you come up behind them and give them a back rub, or you just wrap your arms around them as a way of saying like, hey, I'm here for you. Another example could be like you squeezing your friend or family member's hand when they're anxious to let them know you've got them, like physically you've got them. You're reminding them that you are there for them. This could also be like acts of service, doing something special for somebody, making them their favourite meal when they've had a tough day, stepping up and doing chores that are normally theirs to make that tough time a little bit easier for them. And that's the thing, you know how to make people feel like they are being wrapped up in the most soft, warm, all-encompassing hug. It feels so safe and solid to be yours. And people feel so known by you and so seen and heard by you because you just give them exactly what they need at exactly the right moment. And people feel special because you know how to do it in their way. So it's not just like with physical things and with acts of service, but there is just something so tangible about the way you love, because people who are loved by you are saying like, Pal 1 knows me so well that they just know exactly how to show up for me. They know what I need in this very moment. So if someone's love language is gift giving, you are going to buy them something really special. If someone's love language is words of affirmation, you are going to text them with a paragraph about how much they mean to you. The people who are yours really feel like you listen to them and you respond well to their needs. You hear them and they feel as though being loved by you just feels so natural and so effortless. And when they are loved by you, there's this sense of like, this was always meant to be because I can't picture myself anywhere else. To be yours is to be completely captivated and enamored and just swept up in the riptide of you, because the experience of being loved by you is just so all-encompassing that it kind of makes people forget that there was ever anyone before you. You might tend to find that people become quite infatuated with you quite quickly. And I mean this in all ways, it doesn't just have to be romantic. Yes, it can be that people are attracted to you, charmed by you, drawn to you in that more physical way very suddenly. And it's this sense of that hitting them like a train. But it's also something about the potency and intensity and deepness of all of the relationships in your life. When someone is loved by you, it's clear that you throw your entire being into it. And so it's almost like when people encounter you, there's this, I don't want to say desperate need because I don't mean it like they're desperate, but there is this sense of belonging right off the bat. Like we said in the oracle, you are capable of connecting with a lot of different people because you have that intrinsic ability to read them and know what they need. So a lot of people could experience that love at first sight kind of feeling with you. And even if it's just platonically, they have one conversation with you and they're kind of thinking to themselves like, you know what, this person is my vibe, I want them to be a bigger part of my life. Or whether it's more romantic, people experiencing you and then suddenly feeling like, I have to know this person, I have to get closer to them in some way, it's this urgency. So it's like when they meet you, if they get that sense of like, you know, you are this dream home, but they haven't quite got the keys, they're kind of like, whoa, like I have to put my offer in and make this house mine because something about this feels so perfect, it feels like it was meant for me. So it's almost like you have a lot of people yearning and hoping that you will make them yours because the experience, even being in your presence, is already so mesmerizing. They feel loved just by being around you. They already feel that even just from that experience. They feel that there's something new and exciting and special. So there's this very big pull to learn more and to get closer to you. You might find that you sort of adopt a lot of people. It's like people become obsessed, they become infatuated, they kind of attach themselves to you because they already feel the enormity of your love, even just through these basic interactions with you. And so they know to be claimed as yours would be a privilege because you're someone who is known as really doing right by your people and giving the people you care about exactly what they need. It's an honor for people to be a part of that. So you could find that on your end, you're sometimes connecting with people on this kind of basic level, but to them it feels quite a lot deeper. And if you're just acquaintances, you might find that these people want to become your friend. They want to be a bigger part of your life because it would feel like a blessing to belong to you in some way. You genuinely have that life-changing energy about you, pal one. To be loved by you is to feel like 1 month with you and a person knows they are going to be brand new. Like they are not going to be the same after the experience. What you provide in terms of your love, in terms of the way you nurture and care for people who mean a lot to you, it has the capacity to change lives in this huge way. And not only that, but it makes people forget whatever they had before because it's just not even comparable. You're playing in a whole different league. So when people get wrapped up in your love, it feels like there is nothing else. I'm specifically hearing the song 2 Weeks by FKA Twigs, where she's like, give me 2 weeks, you'll forget about her, or something like that. And this applies with whatever connections you make. It's not just romantic, but if someone is, for example, still feeling like attached to their ex, maybe they feel as though like, oh, I'm always going to miss this ex. I'm never going to forget about them. I've tried to date around, but I find myself still caring about this ex. It's like one experience with you and this person is like, wait, what was my ex's name again? I don't remember because they fall and they fall hard. That is the impact of your love. They're like, oh, I'm done with that now. I'm over it because you capture all of their attention like that. I'm also thinking of the bit in, I think it's a Sabrina Carpenter song. It might be Nonsense, where she's like, I think I had an ex, but I forgot him. That's how people feel belonging to you. Like they're just so wrapped up in the fun and the thrill of it that they don't even think of anyone else. And that's kind of an obvious example, but it doesn't just have to be with romance. Maybe being loved by you, it just makes a person feel like, I've never had a best friend like this before who cares about me so much or pours this much love into me. Something about you just nourishes people. And I keep getting that phrase because even if you haven't got any Taurus in your chart, Taurus always reminds me of food and indulgence. And to be yours, it just feels like people get to experience the best of what life has to offer. It's like you come in and you're saying, let me show you how good life can be. And you really do deliver the goods. Being loved by you feels like a step up. People feel like they're moving up in life when they belong to you. It feels like you show them this whole new world. And the example I'm getting is like, maybe all they've had in the past was unseasoned chicken and rice, or the love they got felt like unseasoned chicken and rice. It felt mediocre, it felt average, it felt just a means to an end, just something you do. But it's like you put them onto lobster and caviar and oysters and champagne. It doesn't have to be literally you are giving them these material things. This is more of a metaphor for how you fill people up with your love. You give them what they need to really nourish them, and you're like, enjoy it. This is what it is to belong to me. You get the best of the best. It doesn't even have to be those foods, by the way. I mean, I'm a vegetarian, so I don't even eat half of those foods I just mentioned, but I was just trying to think of examples of stereotypically fancy foods. It can be any fancy food of your choice. If you don't identify as an oyster or a caviar, to be yours is to finally feel freedom for the first time, or it's to finally feel like you have the sun on your face after being out in the cold for so long. So this could be in the way that you make people feel as though they belong, but it could also just be this thing of like being loved by you feels like somebody is getting closer and closer to the light and that they have a future. The example I'm getting, and I think this is popping into my head because I have rescue hens. So I have one hen who I've had since she was a chick, so she's always looked pretty healthy because I spoil my girls. But when our rescue hens came, they obviously looked a lot more disheveled, like they had feathers missing, and also their combs and their wattles. The wattles are like the dangly little bit under their chin. Those bits look really different to my hen who isn't a rescue. Like the combs on the rescues were really big and floppy and quite dry looking. So I was Googling it at the time to find out what was normal, and I found out that it is really common for hens who have been caged to look that way at first, because if they are from a battery farm, it's very likely they've been stuck in boiling hot cages all day and they're kind of fighting with each other and plucking feathers out of each other because they're stressed and they're in these man-made conditions. So that was sad to see at first, but we found that once our rescues got a taste of freedom and they got to free roam and to forage and do all the things that chickens are supposed to do, they started to also visibly come back to life. Like once they were being cared for and loved and shown that things can be better, their feathers grew back better than before, their combs got healthier, they got more friendly and cuddly and curious and confident. And that's what this is reminding me of. Like, to be loved by you makes people feel as though their life is going to get better. And it gives this sense of like going from a cage towards freedom, or coming out of a prison and moving towards the light. I keep getting this kind of metaphor about that. There's this sense of you like not rescuing people, but giving people opportunities for freedom so that they start to feel as though they can rescue themselves. Because being loved by you feels like having a teammate who always has your back and always comes through for you. And the people who are yours, when they're feeling like they're about to give up or they have no fight left, when they're feeling weak, you will step up and be that source of strength for them. And it's not to come in and just fix everything for them, but it is to say, like, hey, we're a team. I help you and you help me. This is a partnership. And where you lack, I'll pick up the slack. And it also works the other way around. To be loved by you is to experience a true equitable partnership. That doesn't have to mean that like you split chores 50-50 or you split finances 50-50. It's more like you complement each other in whatever way that applies. And there's always this awareness that you're not playing opposition with each other. You're always on the same side. It's always feeling like somebody has your back, even if you don't agree 100% of the time. To be yours is having someone who you know is invested in making the connection better and stronger. It's having someone who always wants to collaborate to make something the best it can be, rather than depleting shared resources. To be loved by you makes people feel like they can drop their guard because you're never somebody who would use a person's vulnerabilities against them. Like if this were a romantic relationship, for instance, and you guys live together, if this person comes down with the flu and they're laying in bed for a couple of weeks and they can't really contribute how they usually do or take on their share of the domestic load or financial load, you're not going to be somebody who uses that as a stick to beat that person with. You're not going to turn around and make them feel bad for getting ill and saying like, oh, I'm doing everything, it's all falling on me, because that's just going to deplete their confidence when they're already not in a great place. Instead, you are going to be like, how best can I support you? Let me take care of you. Let me make you soup and nurture you back to health, and I'll pick up the slack while you can't. Because ultimately, you know that by doing that, you're going to give this person strength to get better. And when they are better, you're going to get a return on your investments tenfold. And when you're in the same position, you know that they're going to want to give the same back. And when they come back from this situation, they're going to feel better, they're going to feel restored and not depleted. So you give people the resources they need to start feeling stronger and more confident again. To be loved by you is to feel like together we are capable of anything and together we have this really bright future. To be loved by you awakens people to their true potential, because you're saying, look at what you're capable of achieving when you're given the things you need, when you're loved in the ways you require. Look at what's possible for you. You open people up to that. You allow people to start feeling like they're more confident and that they're capable of anything. You know what they need intuitively and you provide that. And because you provide that, you remind them that life can be really, really good. Belonging to you feels like being appreciated. It feels like being recognized for who you truly are in a world where otherwise maybe a person doesn't feel noticed or doesn't feel like they belong. Being yours makes people feel like luck is on their side. They feel grateful. They feel like, how fortunate am I that just by chance this person crossed my path and changed my life for the better in every way imaginable. Being yours, it feels like taking a risk. It feels like taking a leap because people know that they could fall very hard and very deep and very fast. But it's also an adventure they're willing to go on and a risk they're willing to take because they know that their future looks endlessly better than it does with you than without you. And once they find you and once you make them yours, they know that there's no going back to normal life. There's no going back to how it was before. Being yours is an ever-evolving new beginning and an opportunity to grow in ways they never thought were possible. So that is what I'm getting for your reading, pile one. I really, really hope you enjoyed this reading today. If you did like reading, please don't forget to like the video. Please comment, let me know what resonated, or just let me know which pile you picked. If you don't feel comfortable, let me know what resonated. That engagement would help me so, so much. It would help me and this channel grow. And on a personal note, I just really love hearing from you guys. Please consider subbing if you haven't done so already. That would mean the world to me and I would appreciate it so, so much. With all of that said, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and I will see you in the next one. Hi Pile 2 Collective, if you chose Pile 2 and you chose the Healing Waves Tarot and the Octopus sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a thorough breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out the introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. But today we are going to be asking, how does it feel to be yours? So what is it like to be loved by you, cared for by you, and belong to you? And I wanted to do this reading today because very often we know how we give love and we know how we receive love from others, but we don't always get to experience how exactly it feels to receive our own personal brand of love because we always tend to just give it out. So this reading is going to explain what it feels like to be loved by you, what it feels like to be on the other side of that. We are going to be starting off by looking at your energy, and then we are going to move along to what it actually feels like to be yours. Now, this is not exclusive to romantic love or those just in relationships. This reading is for anybody who has love to give in their life, whether to romance, whether to family, to friends, or to causes and passion projects. This is about the impact you leave on people and places when you care, when you love them, and when they are a big part of your life. Usual disclaimer, it's a collective reading and not every detail will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. But with all of that said, let's get started with your reading today. So we're going to start off by looking at your energy. We are mostly going to be looking at tarot cards today, but we are also looking at this one oracle card, and this will be an astrological sign to represent a part of your energy. If this sign is a prominent sign in your chart, or you notice any synchronicities on the card, please take that as extra confirmation, but please note the sign mentioned does not have to be prominent in your chart for this to be your pile. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at what we pulled for you today, pile 2. So we're going to be looking at this card here, and then I am going to take 4 of these cards off the top of this deck to also represent other aspects of your energy. So we're just looking at who you are right now before we move on to exploring some of the ways that you love. So I'm just going to pop your octopus right here. So starting off, we have got Cancer. Relevant dates are June 21st to July 22nd. Traits are imaginative, loyal, caring, moody, sensitive, complicated. Element is water. Ruling planet is the moon. Major arcana card is the Chariot. Stones are ruby and moonstone. Colours are blue and silver. Lucky numbers are 2, 7 and 9. Flowers are lily and white rose. And we have also got 9 of Wands. We've got 7 of Cups. We've got the Queen of Wands. And we've got the 7 of Pentacles. Okay, so it actually wouldn't surprise me, pal 2, if you had prominent water and fire within your chart, with us getting this Queen of Wands along with Cancer. So as one example, you could be a Leo sun with a Scorpio moon. That's just one example though, it does not have to be that one, and it doesn't even have to be those elements. But there is some sense here of like maybe you have some kind of oppositional energy in your chart, because the first thing I'm hearing is like you are a complicated person, okay? You are deeply complex, you are probably frequently misunderstood, and I think you'll know if this is you because it's like you might sometimes struggle to even work out what your own true feelings are. You might also struggle with the way you are perceived, like maybe you feel the way you are interpreted or the way you express yourself at an external level doesn't necessarily always match what is on the inside. Maybe people sometimes perceive you as a little bit guarded or a little bit defensive. Like I'm imagining you as this cat, and if people are trying to approach you and get too familiar with you too quickly, if they're trying to come over to you and stroke you when you don't know them like that yet, you are going to back away and arch your back and hiss at them because your inner circle is much more exclusive. People don't just get to come in and be friends with you because they're giving you a bit of attention. It might take a while for you to open up and trust people. You could have a very black cat kind of energy about you. Actually, I'm also getting something about like a dark feminine kind of energy. I mean, this could be a physical thing, like maybe there is something sleek about your appearance, your hair, your style, the way you move. It doesn't feel clumsy, it feels elegant and deliberate. But there's some level of, I guess, like partial detachment there too. You could have a bit of like a don't touch me, don't come near me kind of energy. Like, you know what it is, a cat will come to you when it wants to come to you, but if it doesn't want to sit with you, you cannot force it to. You can try, but you're going to have a hard time. Cats like to have their space. They have to have their independence. They are very good at being solitary, and they're not going to accept the affections of just anyone. But there's something with you where like you might be actually a lot more sentimental than you let on. Like you kind of appear as this sort of don't fuck with me, I don't need anyone person, but maybe deep down you could be a self-identified sentimental little crybaby. One thing about you, pal 2, is you are definitely a baddie regardless of gender. Like you have definitely got it going on. I think you have a lot of people drooling. I'm also hearing you have a lot of people simping over you. The thing about the Queen of Wands is she never doesn't look good. So I know you look good. You know it. Everybody knows it. No question about that. I'm hearing somebody say mommy. Sorry, mommy. So you could have a kind of mommy energy about you. And I mean that in a complimentary way. Maybe some of you are literal parents and you're known for always putting your kids first and being kind of like this ferocious protector. But if it's not that, I think it's just like you're assertive and people kind of like when you put them in their place a little bit. You're sort of bold, like you'll just say it how it is, or you'll say something out of pocket and people kind of love you for it. You could be a bit of a whirlwind, like there's something sort of fun and chaotic and whimsical about your energy. You could get caught up in the moment at times. Maybe some of you are also a little bit hot-tempered or a little bit bossy, but I think people like it. I am hearing that you are a force of nature. It's like fire and water, two very powerful elements. They can be destructive and consume everything in their path when they're out of balance, but they can also be used for good. You know, water hydrates us, it nourishes us, and fire keeps us warm. But I am hearing somebody saying you're a lot, but you're a lot in the best ways. Some of you, it's like you're always doing a lot and maybe you struggle to remember what you've done. Some of you could often find yourselves walking into rooms and forgetting why you walked in there because there's just so many things going on in your mind. You definitely have a very fierce streak and not a lot of people get into your circle, but once they are in, you will protect your people like nothing else. You will really fight for the people you care about. If anyone messes with the people you love, you are like ready to throw hands. You'd be like, they said what to you? What is their address? I just want to talk. And sometimes you go out on a limb more for people you love than you do when it comes to yourself. Like if someone insults you, you might not even care. You might just be like, it's whatever, I can handle it. But if you see one of your loved ones hurt, that gets to you. Like that will make you flip, that will make you lose your temper, and then all hell will really break loose because you are not one to be played with when it comes to the people you care about. I feel like you're very good at pretending that you don't give a shit, but I think deep down you do have this side where you're like rooting for true romance, or you yearn for romance. I think the people closest to you probably know this about you, like you seem tough and as though nothing phases you, but then they see you donating to an animal charity or crying over a sad movie and they're kind of like, oh, you have a heart, you just don't like to show it to everyone. Maybe you confuse even yourself at times though, because you might feel like you're pulled in multiple directions. There is a sense of this push and pull dynamic here, and that might have manifested in some of your past relationships in an obvious way, but I think a lot of it is actually internal. And the thing is, this isn't a negative thing, it's not a judgment, it's not an attack on your character, it's just one facet of the human experience that exists and might sometimes leave you feeling conflicted or feeling like, you know, now I want this, now I don't, I wanted this last week and now I don't want anything to do with it, like what do I actually want? I can actually also understand this to a degree because my sun and my moon are in opposite signs, so I relate to what it's like to experience that push and pull between what I might want and what I might need, and I know it can be difficult to navigate those feelings. And for some of you, it might have taken a considerable amount of inner work and healing to get to that place where you feel more comfortable in your own skin and in knowing who you are. I think you guys definitely have experienced turbulent emotions. You know what it's like to go through extreme highs and lows and ups and downs. Maybe your brain is kind of like this mental roller coaster that never really stops. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go back down, and sometimes things are just looping around like crazy. The intensity is probably a lot to handle, and people might not always understand it. At times you could have found yourself just wanting people to live in your brain for a day so they can see what it's like to feel things so intensely. I feel like you're somebody who everything is just heightened for you. Your senses are always on high alert. So when you're happy, you're exuberant, you feel it tenfold, you make everyone around you feel that happiness. But when you're down, you go all the way down, and it might be difficult to lift yourself back up again. But you do it because I do think you have a lot of resilience. You definitely have a lot of willpower, and we will talk about that. But I think the overall message is like your capacity for emotional depth is something really profound. And your emotional energy is actually very powerful in that it's this driving force in your life. And I don't want to say you're ruled by your emotions because I think that would be undermining the transformative potential of those emotions. But at times it could have felt more like your feelings were in the driver's seat and you were more of a passenger. Like sometimes your feelings have overpowered and sort of forced your hand in a way. When people say follow your plan, not your mood, you could identify as being someone who sometimes finds it quite challenging to not follow your mood because that mood can feel very all-consuming. It can be all-encompassing at the time you're experiencing it. But I think a lot of you have come to understand that you might be someone who is always Spirit is saying to me a little bit extra, and I don't mean it like you're doing too much, but it could even be like just confirming that you have developed this understanding of like, yeah, I'm a little bit extra sensitive compared to the average person. But I think you're also realizing there's a lot of power in that because it's not just like, oh, I'm touchy or extra sensitive to rejection. That could have been something you have struggled with, and there's no shame if that's the case. But it's also a case of like, I'm a little extra clued on and tapped into my environment because I'm sensitive. I'm a little extra compassionate to others because I'm sensitive. I have a little extra love to give because I know what it's like to be in a headspace where I have not had that love from others, and that has made me a little extra empathetic and gentle. It's all of that. And it's also that, yes, one downside is that you can be driven by your emotions, but one upside is that you can be driven by your emotions. So if it comes to being a fierce protector and advocating for what's right, doing what needs to be done, all of that with you comes from a place of feeling things deeply, like all of that comes from love. And you might not think it does all the time, because if you get angry, for example, and then you get frustrated at yourself because you're displaying signs of rage, it can be easy to think like, oh, I don't want to be this way because if I'm angry, it must mean I have a lot of hatred in my heart. But that's not true. No emotion is morally superior to another. It just depends on how you utilize it. Maybe you are rightfully angry for a good reason. Maybe you're pissed off at corrupt institutions or because you've witnessed an injustice. And you have this gift where you can take that heavy burden of feeling emotion so intensely and you can transform it into passion. You can use it to fuel your desire to take action and create change. And you do get things done because of how deeply you feel things. Those feelings force you to take action, and you could have struggled with that concept because maybe you're like, I shouldn't be led by my emotions, I should be more rational, I should approach it more logical. But I think ultimately for you, pal, too, you do make the right decisions when you go with your gut. Like, you immediately have that sense of when something doesn't feel right, and you do speak out, you do take action, and sometimes it might be impulsive, but when you have those raw and instinctual urges, you know not to ignore them because you feel them so strongly in your core, and you feel them for a reason, and it's like they are your guiding light. For some of you, yes, you could work on being more, practical or taking things slower, more methodical. Maybe some of you have done things on an urge and on an impulse and been like, I'll think about the consequences later, and it's gotten you in trouble. But I feel like one thing about you do always land on your feet because cats have 9 lives. So you might be someone who has ended up, for whatever reason, being in some problematic situations or even dangerous situations, but it's like you always manage to get out by the skin of your teeth. You're someone who definitely has kind of a reckless or more spontaneous side at times, but it is, I think, in part because you want to experience life to the full. I'm hearing the phrase curiosity unalived the cat. Don't take that literally, but a lot of you, it's like your curiosity gets the best of you and you wind up in situations where maybe later you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. But you have this vibe of, but you know what? You only live once. Like, I'm going to do it for the plot. And it wouldn't surprise me if you're someone who has kind of said like F it a lot, like you're going back and forth on something, you're indecisive, or you're thinking, oh, but what if this happens? But then you're kind of like, fuck it, let's just see what happens. It's sort of a fuck around and find out vibe. It's almost this energy of like someone saying, I'm in the mood for chaos. I'm just going to say this, or I'm just going to do this and then watch how things unravel. You could be someone who does kind of get caught up in the heat of the moment. And if you get the urge to do something, it can be very hard to fight that urge. The thing is, because you're somebody who experiences life to the full like that, it means that you have a lot of lived experience that other people do not possess. And it doesn't matter what your biological age is, but whatever age you are, it seems like you have somehow experienced things with more intensity than some of your peers. This is kind of giving me a growing up fast through making mistakes sort of vibe. But the thing is with you do learn your lessons and you learn them fast. And you're not afraid of holding your hands up and kind of saying like, that was unhinged of me, that was chaotic of me, I've learned my lesson and I'm not doing that again. You're not really out here making the same mistakes twice. You don't get stagnant, you don't stay wallowing for extended periods, but you have this understanding that life is a growing and learning opportunity and you like taking full advantage of that. And maybe people make judgments about you because of it, but it's okay for them to judge from all the way up on their high horse because they haven't been in the battlegrounds alongside you and you have been there, you know what it's like. So you give yourself compassion, you give yourself space to learn, and you also give other people a lot of the same. Sometimes it feels like you are in a battle with yourself, but you do have an enormous amount of strength and willpower and resilience, and you do have what it takes to push past some of the struggles and reap the rewards. You don't let setbacks prevent you from going out and living your life. Sometimes it could be like this little tug of war between your logic and your intuition, but again, there is something sort of primal about your energy that overtakes, and you have to see for yourself because every experience to you is that opportunity to learn. So this could be like, you dating someone as one example, and it's this contradiction because in the back of your mind you're like, well, I want long term and I know this person doesn't want long term or it wouldn't work for whatever reason, so I should probably stay away. But instead you walk into the fire because you're like, fuck it, I have to know what it's like. it doesn't have to be that example, but it's this thing where you're kind of shrugging and saying, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll know not to make that mistake again. The thing is with you, pal, too, one thing I'm getting is that if there's ever been something you really want, you have never not gotten it. Like, if you want something, it is yours, it belongs to you. Because you're excellent manifestors, you have the capability to get whatever it is you desire. Because when you throw all of your feelings into something, when you put that force behind it, there is really no other option than to succeed. Like, if you can dream it, you can make it a reality. Some of you have the best imaginations. You might have these profound and vivid daydreams. A lot of you are so creative, and you're also good at finding creative solutions to problems. Like, if one option isn't possible, you are great at finding another option that works. You're always going to find a way. And I don't mean that in the way of woo-woo, airy-fairy, I'm just going to sit back and the universe will bring me whatever I want just because I exist. Like, yes, the universe does facilitate opportunities for us, but this is more like if you really feel in your soul that something is for you, you are going to do whatever it takes to get that. You have that determination, you have that willpower, because you will really not accept anything else. You are persistent when you know that something is yours. And if there are things that haven't become yours, it's because you didn't really want them that much, because anything that you do want, you will have, you will make it yours, and it's already yours. So that is what I'm getting for your oracle reading, pal, too. That was all about your energy, but now we are going to move along to the tarot portion, and we are going to be asking what it feels like to be yours. So this is the point where hopefully you know whether this is your pile or not, and now we are going to be asking what your loved ones feel about their experience of being on the receiving end of your devotion. Thank you so much for listening so far, and I will see you at the tarot. Hi, Party Collective, welcome back to the tarot portion of your reading. I'm just going to pop these cards to one side for now so we can focus on your tarot. Don't worry if not all the cards are in frame at first. I will lay the cards and then I will have a look at the camera to make sure they're in frame. So starting off, we have got the Five of Swords in reverse, and the clarifier is the Page of Cups. We have got the Ten of Swords, and the clarifier for the Ten of Swords is the Ace of Wands. We have got the Three of Cups, and the clarifier for the Three of Cups is the Seven of Wands. We have got the Knight of Cups, and the clarifier for the Knight of Cups is the Nine of Cups. And then we have got the Tower, and the clarifier for the Tower is the Seven of Swords. Okay, interesting. Okay, so one thing about you, pal, too, the way you love is not for the faint of heart. Being yours is not easy, but one thing I will say about it is it's never ever boring. I think the people who have been loved by you, who have been touched by you, they haven't come out of that without being fundamentally changed in some way. Your love does leave this lasting impression on people, and I think that can obviously be interpreted in many different ways. But there is this message that keeps coming through about you really wanting to experience all of life to the full. And so the people you would consider yours, it's like they have to be willing to go on that journey and experience that with you. And even if at times it is sort of this bumpy road or there's ups and downs, ultimately what transpires from it is a lot of opportunity for growth from all parties involved. The people who have been cared for by you in some capacity do not forget you. I definitely wouldn't be surprised if the people who have loved you in some way, even in the past, still think of you a lot or reflect on their time with you, because it feels like every relationship you have is almost some kind of teachable moment for everyone involved. I feel like there's a lot you have learned from some of your past relationships, but also the other person recognizes that they too have taken something from it. So being loved by you feels like always carrying a souvenir with you wherever you go. Because even if you no longer speak to certain people, whether it's exes, whether it's old friends, family members you've distanced yourself from, I feel like these people who have been in your life say that to be loved by you is to have their entire lives shaken up in some way. Maybe it's in terms of the way they conduct themselves within relationships or friendships going forward. Maybe some of these individuals have had to lose you in order to learn some of their own lessons. And maybe for other individuals, this is just them reflecting on the time spent with you and saying like, you know, Pal 2 really taught me a lot about what it means to love or what it means to be a friend. There's something about being cared for by you that really gets under the skin of people. It gets into the very core of people and it kind of pulls them apart at the seams. And I feel like as I'm saying that, I'm not really doing justice to the kind of feeling that I mean, because pulling apart sounds violent, it sounds destructive, it sounds like a negative thing. And the Tower, it can be destructive, but it does not have to be a negative thing. People get scared when they see the tower because tower moments themselves can be fucking scary, and that's valid. And I don't think it's fair to pretend that tower moments are all sunshine and rainbows, because they're not. Especially when you're going through one, it is natural to want to resist it because it's normal to want to try and cling on to safety and hold tight to old structures and old ways of being. But the thing is, with the tower, it's like the structure is already crumbling and the whole thing needs to be destroyed so it can be rebuilt. But it can be an overwhelming experience because these moments can be so sudden. So it can be difficult to get to grips because one minute you have a home and then the next minute you're like, what do you mean my tower is crumbling? What will I do? I do not have a backup tower. And I think there's something about being loved by you that is scary in the way that it threatens to just come in and knock down somebody's already crumbling tower. There's something about your love being stronger than the walls that people have built, and I keep hearing the phrase give into it. So I think there's a message of like, your love just hits people out the blue, unexpectedly, like a wave crashing against a lighthouse, like in this picture. And to people who perhaps aren't ready to be loved or don't know how to be loved, that can actually feel like a threat because it comes on so strong and so hard and so fast that they know it has the power to knock everything down. They know that they could so easily give into it, and some people are reluctant to that, especially people who are trying to keep their walls firmly up. So I wouldn't actually be surprised if you are someone who gets the people who are somewhat cold or distant, or the people who have a guard up, to open up in ways they haven't done with anyone else ever. I won't be surprised if in the past you have attracted maybe emotionally avoidant people, runners, people who are so drawn to you, but also terrified of you all in one go. Because your love just smashes into them out of the blue and they feel like it could threaten to destroy every single obstacle that they've built. There is definitely a message about that. Like, to be loved by you is to be so scared of the power that you hold due to the intensity of your love. I've not heard this song in at least 10 years, but I think it's Smash Into You by Beyonce, so I don't know if that's relevant for anyone here. I'm also hearing something along the lines of like, you could ruin my life. To be loved by you is to know that you could ruin someone's life if you wanted to. Now, just to be very clear here, this is not me saying that you ruin people's lives, Paltu. In fact, I think you have the capacity to rebuild people's old structures and make their lives significantly better. But I think this is an acknowledgement of like people saying, I'm scared of being loved by you because if I fell hard for you, you could ruin my life if you wanted to, and that would be a risk. So I think, again, going back to what we said about people who usually don't open up to anyone gravitating towards you, it's like being loved by you for those people might feel like a power struggle because maybe they are not yet fully comfortable with their own vulnerability. And if the feelings they have for you kind of show up out of the blue and metaphorically hit them like a punch in the gut, it's like they're saying, I didn't expect to feel this way. I didn't plan on falling in love. I didn't plan on wanting to give to someone like this. And so it feels like an inner battle. It feels like risking everything because they know that as they spend more time with you, their walls are becoming easier and easier to tear down. And they're saying within that, they feel like they're handing everything over to you and they are terrified that you'd have the capacity to hurt them if you wanted to. So it wouldn't surprise me, Paltu, if you have dealt with a lot of wounded people who really struggle with the idea of opening up. Or maybe you recognize some aspects of yourself in this too. And this is saying that loving is scary for you and for them, but it's also very intense and very powerful and has the capacity to create great change. I don't know what it is with me and receiving all these old song downloads today, but I'm also hearing that song. I think it's by Jordan Sparks, but I could be wrong. But she's like, why does love always feel like a battlefield or something? That's what I'm getting. For some people, being yours feels like an attack. And I don't mean that in quite the way it sounds, but I'm specifically hearing the phrase coup. And that's a phrase that tends to be used in relation to overthrowing the government and the sudden seizing of power. And it's this message of like, again, being yours takes people by surprise. It takes them off guard. So one example of that, like if this is romantic, let's say, it's like 1 minute, this person could feel like they're in control of the situation, or you and them are casual, you're just having fun. And it's like suddenly out of nowhere, they find themselves falling hard for you. So they feel like they are not in control anymore, or they've handed the power over to you in some way, or you've snatched the power out of their grasp because of how hard they've fallen. Maybe this realization hits them of like, damn, I thought me and Paltu were just casually seeing each other. Like I thought I had a handle on this, But now I find myself smiling like an idiot every time their name pops up on my phone, and I find myself suddenly not wanting to talk to anyone else. So I guess I'm down bad for them, like shit, I'm theirs and I didn't even realize that I was becoming theirs. It's kind of this thing where it feels like it snuck up on them and they didn't realize. And it could even apply in friendships and things like that. It could be that you find a way to kind of, I don't want to say sneak because it's not like you are being sneaky, but I am thinking of a cat being very cautious in the way they approach. Like sometimes you will see a cat come towards something and then you'll see it stop and stand very, very still and just stare and then get a bit closer, like a tiny step at a time, and then repeat that pattern. So there is this sense of like you find a way to merge your love into people's everyday life without them even realizing how much they've started to care for you or how much they've started to rely on you. It's like 1 minute you're not even that close and then suddenly they find themselves wanting to reach out to you daily, or you end up just being a big part of their life and they hadn't realized that they got so attached to you, I'm hearing, until it was too late. And by that point, they already feel like they've sacrificed their power in some way because they know that you have the potential to really hurt them. And again, that's not me saying you want to hurt them or you will hurt them. It's just these people aren't necessarily used to letting anyone in. Maybe they're used to stopping their feelings before it gets too deep. But it's like with you, you kind of shatter all that. And that's why it feels like an attack, because they suddenly turn around and they're like, whoa, what is this? Like, I thought we were just hanging out, but I guess I'm in love with you now. Like, I guess I'm yours now. And that's uncomfortable for some of them. Like, maybe some of these people are individuals who pride themselves on being independent, or they always say like, I want to stay single, or I don't want to get married, or I never want to settle down. Or even if these are people who don't usually have close friendships because they convince themselves like, oh, I don't need anybody, I don't like socializing, I'm not a people person, I don't need any new friends. It's kind of like you manage to infiltrate yourself into these people's lives so inconspicuously without them really realizing, and then they find themselves feeling worried that they are starting to depend on you, or they're opening up to you, they're trusting you with their secrets, or they're feeling the feelings that they didn't think they'd ever have. It's that kind of thing. And you know, that can be really scary. If you've always said like, I'm going to do this with my life, and then someone comes in to challenge that, and you're forced to change your fundamental belief system about yourself, about what you want, about relationships, it's natural for that to be met with some resistance. But yeah, there's absolutely something about your love making people feel ways that they just thought they never would. And I just want to reiterate, when I'm talking about you infiltrating this person's life, I don't think this is a reflection on your behaviour. Like, I'm not saying you're sat there rubbing your hands together, evilly plotting for months how you can get a person who doesn't open up easily to trust you so you can use it against them. It's not anything malicious. It's not that. This is something that happens very naturally, but it's more like people who are loved by you kind of look at it like, whoa, I find myself wanting to tell pal 2 things I've never told anyone else. Like, I haven't even told my therapist this. I find myself having feelings I didn't think I'd have for anyone, feelings that go against the way I thought my life was going to play out. Like, when did that happen? How did we get here? In actuality, this could just look like you being consistent with somebody, or being an active listener for them. That's not an attack, but to somebody who is avoidant or who has never had that, it might feel kind of unsettling or foreign. And for those kinds of people, it might cause them to be like, whoa, like I just opened up about my whole childhood trauma to this person. I feel like I've been tricked because I always told myself I would never open up about that. And now I found myself just blurting it all out. Like, things come tumbling out, the structure comes tumbling down. To be loved by you is to sacrifice the old life for the new life, and in some instances it's to risk everything they thought they knew. But it's also them finding themselves desperately wanting to take that chance, even if they feel like it's taking a risk, because they'd rather risk it all than not have you in their life. And of course there are different ways in terms of how this could play out. This could just be someone saying that they'll never trust anybody and you challenge that notion. This could be somebody risking their stability or security to take a chance with you, maybe wanting to make a big long distance move to be closer to you, like maybe they want to start over again and change their entire career plans and the trajectory of their life just to get near you. Or this could even be like a schmexuality thing for a couple of you, like maybe somebody thinking they are a particular schmexuality, but you in some way would contradict that because they find themselves attracted to you. It could be about not being open about one's schmexuality and feeling like it would be a risk to be with you, but thinking it's worth that risk. It could just be someone always thinking that they have one particular type of individual that they gravitate towards, and maybe you are not their usual type, but the way they fall for you is so undeniable that it just shatters their previous beliefs and their previous notions about what they are into. Being yours is about overcoming beliefs, overcoming obstacles. Being yours is about doing whatever it takes. It also feels like never becoming complacent. It feels like going after a passion no matter what the obstacles are. It feels like a new lease of life. Because the thing is, when a person belongs to you, when things are good, they are better than anybody could ever imagine. It is like living in a dream world. Your love allows people to feel the highest of highs. It allows them to experience their wish fulfillment. Nothing comes close to it. It's kind of like being yours feels like a high that people cannot stop chasing, because when it is good, it is the best thing they've ever experienced. It's like getting a temporary visa straight to heaven, like you're laying on a soft, fluffy cloud with all your favourite food and drinks, with your favourite music playing, and you're getting a full body massage and being completely pampered and cared for, and the endorphins are just going wild, like it couldn't get more perfect. You just feel so happy. Like, happy is a word that kind of undermines the feeling, but you just want to stay there forever. But sometimes you have to go back down to earth and you have to go and live in the real world for a while. So there could be something about being loved by you makes people want to stay in heaven a little bit longer so they don't have to go back to their boring reality. Like, maybe when you make connections with people, it's as though they want to sort of spend all day with you wrapped up in a little love bubble, but they're saying, you know, I'd love to spend all my time with pal too, but I have to go to work. Maybe it physically hurts people to be away from you. You get people so addicted to your energy. Being yours could feel like constantly daydreaming about the next time they get to spend with you. Being yours could make people appreciate the beauty in the world. I'm almost getting this vibe of you turning a cynic into a lover girl or a lover guy. Like, if they're the kind of person who wakes up every day moody and grumpy and like everything sucks, it's as though they spend one night with you and then the next day they're like, oh, what a beautiful day it is. I'm so happy to be here. My faith has been restored. Loving you could feel like just feeling inspired, feeling like you have a muse or like the world has meaning again. Maybe feeling restless too, like that feeling of when you just have to get up and do something. Or if it's not restless, it just feels like there are multiple new possibilities or so many new avenues to explore, so many things to get excited about. There are so many interesting messages here because we have messages about fighting, but then we have messages about peace. So maybe it's this dichotomy of like being yours feels like finding your safe haven within an ongoing war. So this could be kind of a metaphor, people feeling like they are at war with themselves or there's a battle going on in their mind. Or maybe it always feels like they're at war with the outside world because, as one example, maybe work is stressful or their financial life is tough or all the relationships in their life aren't going well or they're just being bombarded with this constant bad news. And being yours feels like this retreat from that. It feels like this break from not just the terrible things but the ordinary things too. And literally, Nine of Cups can symbolize even a spa break or an actual retreat. So maybe it's this feeling of like, you know, no matter what wars are going on around us, being yours is always having a safe place to go, a place where there is gentleness and endless affection and sensitivity and care. It's a place where nobody has to be in defense mode. They don't have to feel like they're fighting. They can just relax and take things easy. And it's a place that's just for you and the people who are yours. It's secret, it's safe, nobody else knows about it. It's just for you. It's an escape, but it's also a lot of fun, and it's this thing where nothing exists outside of you, only the happy times exist in this little bubble that you created. So that is what I'm getting for your tarot reading, pal two. I really hope you enjoyed this reading today. If you did like the reading, please don't forget to like the video, please comment, let me know what resonated, or just let me know which pal you picked if you don't feel comfortable letting me know what resonated. Please sub if you haven't done so already. All of that would help me and this channel so much. And on a personal note, I would really love to hear from you guys. So with all of that said, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and I'll see you in the next one. Hi Pal 3 Collective. If you chose Pal 3 and you chose the Adventure Time Tarot and the sunglasses sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a thorough breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out the introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. But today we are going to be asking, how does it feel to be yours? So what is it like to be loved by you, cared for by you, and belong to you? And I wanted to do this reading today because very often we know how we give love and we know how we receive love from others, but we don't always get to experience how exactly it feels to receive our own personal brand of love because we always tend to just give it out. So this reading is going to explain what it feels like to be loved by you. We are going to be starting off by looking at your energy, and then we are going to move along to what it feels like to be yours. This is not exclusive to romantic love or those in relationships. This reading is for anybody who has love to give in their life, whether it's in terms of romance, friends, family, causes, or passion projects. This is about the impact you leave on people and places when you care, when you love them, and when they are a big part of your life. Usual disclaimer, it's a collective reading and not every single detail will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. But with all of that said, let's get started with your reading today. So we are going to be starting off by looking at just your energy in this portion of the reading. We're mostly going to be looking at tarot cards, but we are going to look at this one card, and this will be an astrological sign to represent a part of your energy. If this sign is a prominent sign in your chart, or you notice any synchronicities on this card, please take that as extra confirmation. But please do note the sign mentioned, the sign on this card, does not have to be prominent in your chart for this to be your pile. It's more about the overarching energy and how all of the cards play together. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at what we pulled for you, pile 3. Okay, so to start off with, we've got Sagittarius. Relevant dates are November 22nd to December 21st. Traits are honest, caring, and loyal. Impatient, superficial, blunt. Element is fire. Ruling planet is Jupiter. Major arcana card is Temperance. Stones are turquoise and topaz. Colours are purple and yellow. Lucky numbers are 5, 6, and 8. And flowers are chrysanthemum. I have such a hard time saying that word. I don't know why. And carnation. And I'm just going to pop your sunglasses here, and we're going to look at the first 4 cards from this pile, and that will also represent your overarching energy. So we have got the 10 of Swords, we have got the Ace of Cups, we have got the 9 of Cups, and we have got 6 of Wands. Okay, so for you, pile 3, even if you're not Sagittarius dominant, you could embody some of those traits associated with the 9th house or with Jupiter energy. And there's something coming through about you being a foreigner, because the 9th house is often associated with long distance travel. So it could just be simply that you're known as somebody who enjoys traveling and has explored or would like to explore the world, like that is important to you. And specifically, there's something about hot countries with you choosing the sunglasses sticker. But it could also be that you or your family have emigrated, so perhaps the country you currently reside in is not the one you are originally from. Maybe you used to live in one location and you've gone to live and work in a different one, and there has been some travel involved overseas. Some of you could be in the process of moving or planning some kind of move, and it doesn't even have to be at an international level. That is what the 9th house is usually associated with, but for some of you, this could just be confirmation if you are like moving from one town to the next. But in this new town, maybe you are like the foreigner, because maybe, you know, it's a small place where everybody knows everybody and you're kind of this new face. But equally, it could be like, as just one example, if you are of Mediterranean descent and you have stereotypically Mediterranean features, and then you go and live in a Nordic country with stereotypically Nordic features, it's like you might stand out to other people around you. You could have been perceived as like ethnically or culturally ambiguous before, maybe like even if you've lived and worked in one country all your life, you could constantly get people asking you like, yeah, but where are you from really though? You could have been told there's something sort of exotic about your features. There could be also something about you being bilingual or multilingual. Maybe you do speak more than one language. There's something about you being very culturally diverse or embracing a certain aspect of your culture. So as just one example, if you are a British-born person but you have Indian heritage, it could be something about embracing both the British side and the Indian side. Or, you know, maybe this is somebody who feels that they have a sort of split identity or split culture, or like multiple aspects of their identity in terms of their place of belonging. So this could be anyone who has a group of, let's say, work friends, and they engage with this specific culture in their workplace, but then this individual might also have like a separate group of church friends, and that is a whole different community, and there's a different set of expectations within that community. So this person kind of keeps those two communities separate, even though both groups are this big part of that person's identity. But they are diverse in the fact that they can adapt to both of these communities in different ways, but it just feels like they have these multiple layers of who they are, like they are different things to different people. So that could be you if you're part of a specific culture or religion or background or something that's a big part of your life, but maybe not everyone gets it. So in that example we talked about with work and church, maybe you don't talk about your religion much with your work friends, and you don't talk about work much with your religious friends. It's that kind of thing. I definitely think a lot of you, even if you are not religious or anything like that, and you certainly don't have to be, but it does feel like you have some kind of faith in terms of a strong spiritual connection, and you probably do have certain practices that you make a part of your daily life in relation to these beliefs. So this could be, for example, prayer or reading scripture if you identify as a Christian, or if you're more spiritual, this could be a meditation as just one example. It could be some kind of ritualistic practice that helps you maintain your faith in whatever form that faith takes. And if you do not identify with having a specific faith, I just interpret this as something that you do that helps you keep going or inspires some kind of optimism. So even just listening to tarot, if that is part of your daily routine, that could very well apply. Because I am getting with you, Pal 3, I feel like you have this unwavering faith that the best is yet to come. And that's not to say that your faith has not been tested, but it does seem like you're someone where even when it feels like everything is going to shit, it's not that you don't get upset about it, because with that Ace of Cups, you definitely do feel your feelings, I think, but it's just you refuse to let it get you down for very long, is what I'm getting. So even when you are faced with bad situations, it seems like you're someone who manages to find a way to see the bright side. And I feel like actually a lot of this is through your sense of humor. You have a kind of like, if I don't laugh, I'll cry vibe about you. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you are someone who kind of has a dark sense of humor, or you've learned how to make light of certain difficult moments. I could definitely see you being the kind of person who makes social commentary through memes, or you make a joke about your trauma by making a meme or something like that, or sharing a quote. You're definitely someone who's not afraid to sort of go there. Like Sagittarius energy, whether you identify with that or not, it definitely makes me think of someone who can say some outrageous stuff and get away with it because it's just so funny, it's so blunt, but it's also so true. I would not be surprised if you're my pal who has gotten in trouble for joking about something you shouldn't have joked about. But the thing is, it's never malicious, it's just very unfiltered, and sometimes it's like the inside thoughts kind of make their way out of your mouth before you have time to check that they're appropriate. So the example I'm getting, it won't be this one for you specifically, but let's just say if you are an individual who has struggled with mental health issues, like if you've had depression or anxiety, you could see a funny, relatable meme about the experience of having depression and you just hit share. And then you might have somebody messaging you like, oh, you need to be more careful. That's not funny. That's really insensitive. Like, depression is no joke. And you're kind of like, yeah, no shit. I know it's no joke. I've dealt with it for years, but this is how I process things. So leave me be. It wouldn't surprise me if you've been told off in the past for speaking out or questioning things as well. I think there's like an insatiable curiosity with you. Like, you're always wanting to learn more and to expand your knowledge. I could absolutely see you being my pal who cannot stand small talk. Like, I won't be surprised if you just want to get to the nitty gritty right away and you actually don't mind when people trauma dump on you, because you guys, you like to have the big conversations. You don't want to do like the, oh, what about this weather chit chat? You want to get philosophical, you want to debate, you want to uncover. But you also don't want to follow the rules. You want to think outside of the box. You want to question things. You want to research things. You could also be the kind of person who sees the bigger picture. And when you approach a topic, you're always looking at it through the lens of like the larger ramifications. So how certain things might have a trickle-down effect or how they might impact a community rather than just an individual. You look at things on a broader scale like that. You could also be known as someone who is very future-orientated, like you're less focused on the past because you're more interested in what's to come, what's ahead of you. You like to be able to have a goal in mind. You like to be able to look forward and say like, this is what I want to work towards, this is what I want to change, because you do always want to be creating change and learning new things. You could be known as somebody who is always keen to start a new hobby, or it's like once you've mastered one thing, you want to go and explore something else. You could go back and forth between hobbies quite a lot because you often find yourself needing to diversify your environment. It could be that you do get bored kind of easily, or you get disinterested easily when there isn't enough challenge. It feels like you always want to be like aiming towards something bigger and grander. So you might really struggle of being, for example, in forms of employment that stifle your ability to grow. Like if there's no opportunity for advancement or doing something bigger or more meaningful, you might be someone who very quickly becomes apathetic towards the role, and then you have to change jobs or join a training course, or just do something a little bit different to feel alive again. You could also be someone who is constantly making changes to their appearance or their environment. Maybe you're somebody who is always moving furniture around or getting new homeware or decorations, or you're always like dyeing your hair or planning your next tattoo. You're definitely somebody who is adventurous in terms of the things you're willing to try or the variety that you would like to add to your life. A lot of you guys will be considered, I think, daring in some way. You're kind of a little bit fearless. Maybe you're the person in your friend group who's most likely to go skydiving, or maybe you were that person where when you were a teenager and you and your friends played Truth or Dare, you were always the one who picked Dare, or you would never back down from a dare if you got one. I'm hearing somebody saying, I'll do it, and I feel like if someone said to you, you won't do it, you would do it just to prove them wrong. It's that kind of energy. I'm also hearing somebody saying like, oh, that sounds like a bad idea, I'll do it. So there's something about you being too curious to not take a chance sometimes. And there's something about you being intelligent enough and having enough knowledge to understand when something is a good or bad idea. But sometimes like you do it anyway because you just want to see what will happen. You like to experiment. You could identify as being really academically smart, but maybe sometimes you feel as though you lack common sense. Or if you have common sense, you don't always implement it. It's something like that. There's also a message about you sometimes being impatient or having a shorter attention span. So maybe you really struggle with things like waiting for an appointment or being in queues. Maybe you get quite restless, or maybe you find that your frustration tolerance can be low when it feels like things are moving too slowly. It's something along those lines. You could be someone who identifies as sometimes being quick to anger or being quite quick to get in your feelings, but then you're also just as quick to calm down. You are probably the kind of person who listens to readings like this at like 2 times speed or something, or at least 1.5. You could process information really quickly and efficiently, actually, and you could process emotions in that way too. I'm actually hearing the phrase, you take it like a champ. So I don't know, it's like there's something about you can go from complete rock bottom to being a-okay within the space of 24 hours or something along those lines. You could identify as occasionally being just a little bit dramatic. It might be like you are the kind of person who gets more upset over minor inconveniences than you do about the big stuff. Like you manage to remain pretty optimistic or logical about life-shattering things that would ruin other people. But then maybe something like waiting in a telephone queue, listening to annoying hold music, just sends you into an absolute rage, and you react worse to that than you would to the big thing happening, if that makes sense. It doesn't have to be that example, but you could kind of exaggerate some things in the moment. So maybe when you're in a rage about something, you're like, oh my God, this is the worst day ever. Nothing could possibly be any worse. But then the next day you're like, oh, actually, I'm over that now. Like it wasn't that bad. But I think that's maybe because you do give yourself that time to feel your feelings, but maybe it occasionally comes out in a bit of a burst or in a bit of an unhinged way, and later you're like, oh, I kind of flew off the handle about that and now I'm actually fine, like it wasn't that big of a deal. But the thing is, you do get it out, like the stuff that needs to come out, it comes out. And I actually feel like, to be honest, it makes you popular because you're not someone who is passive aggressive or who holds on to grudges forevermore. If you have a problem with somebody, you're good at saying it how it is and getting it out in the open and letting people know where they stand. So people could say you're very much a, like, what you see is what you get sort of individual. You're definitely not afraid to be honest. And I feel like you are probably known as the blunt or honest friend from your friend group. People might say that you take it too far when you roast people, or you take it too far with your sense of humor at times. Maybe people who are easily offended perceive your authenticity as an attack, and it gets them feeling like, oh, like I just got roasted. But at the same time, I do think most people are aware you are not like a mean-spirited person, and most people find you a lot of fun, and I think they really enjoy your company and your honesty. I think for the most part, you're known as somebody who likes to spread love and positivity and praise and compliments, so people know that if you have something to criticize, it's with a valid reason. You're definitely not somebody who comes across as being insecure. You do seem very comfortable in your own skin. Whether that's how you feel on the inside, pal 3, that might be a different matter, but I think people view you as somebody who is confident. I'm hearing something about you being the life of the party. Now, if you know that you hate going to parties and you never do that, you don't have to take this incredibly literally, but I think this is just saying you are good at entertaining people and keeping people engaged. You're great at captivating people's attention and holding an audience, basically. So whether you have to stand up and make speeches as part of your job, or whether this is you telling a funny story at a party, you're skilled when it comes to getting people to really listen to you. Maybe you're skilled at getting people to take your ideas on board, campaigning for something, advocating for something. I think if you get an idea in your head, you are great at getting your point across and demonstrating why that idea is important. And you do so in a way that is never boring. So you're good at getting people to support your ideas. Some of you could kind of go on rants about things that are important to you. Like, you just make people listen. And in the end, you have a lot of support because you will persistently defend your stance. And maybe you're somebody who gets recognized a lot, or you're currently getting some recognition for something you're doing. I'm getting something about a petition. If some of you recently signed a petition, or you've started a petition or something like that, or you have some kind of campaign going. I don't know, that's not going to be for everyone. It's just a message for somebody. But maybe you're someone who a lot of people know of. So it could be that when you're out and about, you get a lot of people approaching you to say hello or to commend you on something. If there's something you are doing that has been made public, some of you, it could be that you have an online platform or a business. And if it's not that, maybe a lot of you have been involved with a local campaign, or you've been in a local news story, or something like that, or you're getting acclaim for a project. You could be someone who feels the need to put purpose and passion into everything you do. Like, you struggle to motivate yourself to do things if you don't fully believe in them. When you invest in something, your heart has to be in it. You could also be a little bit of a heartbreaker to some people. Like, maybe people tend to develop little crushes or fixations on you. Maybe you have a lot of orbiters, you have a lot of people admiring you, you have a lot of fans. Maybe a lot of people feel like they've been struck by Cupid's arrow when it comes to you, but they always just feel like you're slightly out of grasp or something along those lines, like you're a celebrity and they're a fan. If you do have some kind of platform, this could be like a parasocial relationship thing, like people who feel as though they watch you and they're like in love with you, but you don't know who they are. There's kind of like this degree of separation. That's just a message for somebody. That won't be for everyone. But that is what I'm getting for your oracle reading, pile 3. That was all about your energy, but we are now going to move along to the tarot portion, and we are going to be asking what it feels like to be yours. So this is the point where hopefully you know whether this is your pile or not. And now we are going to be asking what your loved ones feel about their experience of being on the receiving end of your devotion. Thank you so much for listening so far, and I will see you at your tarot. Hi Pile 3 Collective, welcome back to the tarot portion of your reading. Without hesitation, let's have a look at the cards we pulled for you. So I'm just going to put these cards away and to one side for now. Don't worry if not all the cards are in frame at the moment. I will lay the cards and then I will check that they are all on camera. Okay, so to start off with, we have got the moon. And the clarifier for the moon is the 8 of Cups. We have got the Hermit. And the clarifier for the Hermit is the 6 of Cups. We have got the King of Swords. And the clarifier for the King of Swords is the Ace of Wands reversed. We have got the 6 of Swords, and the clarifier for the 6 of Swords is the 7 of Swords in reverse. We have got the 10 of Pentacles, and the clarifier for the 10 of Pentacles is the 10 of Cups. Okay, so I'm getting a few different messages for you, Pile 3, but I keep getting this particular message that the experience of being loved by you is like being coached by a firm but fair bootcamp leader. Being loved by you is getting a never-ending pep talk that forces people to look at themselves and their own potential head on. Being loved by you is not being able to outrun your potential, like you are going to make them see it. And the example that's at the forefront of my mind right now, it's like when you see films or TV shows and there's a teacher, but this teacher is extra harsh or strict with one particular student, and the student feels as though the teacher is picking on them, but it's because that teacher sees potential in them and they want them to do the very best that they can do. So they have these really high expectations for this student because they have faith in the student. They can see what that student is capable of, and they're not prepared to allow that individual to settle. And obviously that specific example won't apply to you, but it is that similar vibe of like, I expect the best of you because I believe in you, because I can see that you're capable of it. So it's kind of like, you know, I'm tough on you because I care. It's like your love makes people reach for the very best for themselves. You don't allow them to escape the things you know that they can achieve. And one way this could manifest is through your blunt honesty. We spoke in your oracle reading about how you are one of the few people to kind of just say it how it is. And I definitely do think you are of the mindset of like, I would be doing the people I love a disservice if I was not honest with them. So being loved by you, for some people in your life, it might not be what they want to hear in the moment, but it's what they need to hear for their long-term happiness. And in the end, they know they are better off for it. So like, as just one example, it won't be this one for you, but let's say you have a friend who is in a toxic relationship, or they are trapped in this cycle where they keep going back to someone who is mistreating them. Maybe other people in your friendship group have tried to approach it via gentle means and it hasn't worked. You've all been unable to get through to this person. And when this person returns to that relationship and they ask that friend group, like, hey, this person I've got back with says they've really changed this time. What do you think? Do you think they're being truthful? Although everyone knows that situation isn't good, maybe they respond like, well, you never know, maybe they have changed. If you're happy, that's the main thing, because they don't want to hurt that person's feelings. Whereas it feels like you are going to be the one to deliver this dose of honesty. You're going to say, let's be really honest here. They promised you this the last 5 times and it didn't happen. I don't think this time is going to be any different. I don't think it's going to make you happy long term. And quite frankly, I think you deserve better. And in the moment, that is hard to hear. If this person wants to live in an illusion and cling on to this relationship, it's going to be difficult to hear someone give them valid reasons about why they should walk away. But ultimately, being loved by you is always knowing that somebody wants the very best for you. Like, somebody is always rooting for you to live up to your potential. Being yours is knowing that you are not just going to sit and watch idly by as someone continues to act in ways that are not in their best interest. And that is because you actually care and you actually want to invest in them. Because when someone is yours, you do truly invest in them. You're not that partner or friend who sits on the sidelines and says like, oh yeah, go and fuck up your life if you want, because it'll give us something to gossip about in the group chat. You're truly like, no, I am not seeing you put yourself in this position. You are better than that. Being loved by you is knowing that support and guidance and compassion also comes with that raw, unfiltered honesty. When people are yours, they know that that realness and authenticity comes as an immediate add-on to the relationship package. And they accept that because they know that it's never done nefariously. They know that you always have their best intentions in mind. Even if it means sometimes you kind of have to play devil's advocate. The thing is, people understand that being loved by you means that they are no longer allowed to waste their potential. Like, it is not even an option. If one of your loved ones has a hidden talent, you will identify it, you will tell them about it, and you will make them use it. If someone you love has the ability to make their life better and to reach higher in terms of their goals, you're going to give them the support they need to make that happen. If someone you care about tries to self-sabotage or tries to give you a reason why an opportunity won't work for them, you will come back and give them 10 reasons why it will work. You will provide a solution so that their opportunities become inescapable. And the thing is, as well, what I'm hearing is that being yours means being outsmarted at every turn. I am getting that phrase. And like I said, during your oracle, you have this bigger picture approach with things. It's like you kind of think of every eventuality. So if someone tells you like, oh, I can't do this because of XYZ, you're going to be like, wait, I already have a solution for that. Being loved by you is being told, I know you can do better and I'm going to show you how. And the thing is, this is not in a patronizing way. This is not in a victim blaming kind of way that makes people feel defective or further isolated. This is not that teacher who writes in your school report that you're just lazy and you don't try hard enough because you're actually struggling with an undiagnosed disability that they're not supporting you with. Being loved by you is having, not only the encouragement, the pep talk, the hype man, it's also having this physical, tangible support every step of the way. Being loved by you is feeling for the first time that somebody actually sees you for your strengths and not what you lack. The experience of being yours feels like being fully believed in for the first time ever. It's that constant pat on the back of like someone saying, hey, you can do this. And if you feel like you can't, I'm right here with you. Let me help you. This could come in the form of you complimenting people for attributes that they might have been shamed for in the past. The things people feel insecure about, the things they feel are holding them back, you are capable of identifying why those things are opportunities rather than barriers. It won't be this exact example for you, but you could compliment someone and say to them, like, you have such a commanding voice. And this person might immediately start apologizing. They're like, I'm so sorry. My parents always told me that I speak too loud. I'll try and tone it down. And you're like, no, I just meant, like, have you ever thought of doing some kind of public speaking? Because the way that you project your voice is really powerful. Like, being loved by you is knowing you have someone that's in your corner, genuinely wanting the very best for you, and who isn't prepared to see you let yourself down by choosing not to live up to your potential. Being yours means having somebody who's always willing to put positive spin on things in a way that's realistic whilst also inspiring confidence. I actually wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you did some kind of motivational speaking or you worked with vulnerable people in some way. And I know this reading is about being loved by you, but I did mention at the start that being yours could also refer to a passion you have that you throw your heart and soul into. So if you do anything that involves inspiring others, uplifting others, empowering others as a career or as volunteer work or as a passion project, I think that could absolutely apply. And it doesn't have to be this example for you, but the example I'm getting is like, let's say you work with vulnerable young people who are looking to further their education or develop their work skills or something like that. This young person who comes to you could initially be feeling really let down by the systems around them. Maybe they come in feeling like developing their skill set is pointless because the people who have been involved in their care so far have spent more energy berating them for not having the right grades, for example, than they have identifying the things that they might be gifted at. So this child in this example could come to you and say, like, I don't feel like I have any options to progress because my maths, my English grades are nowhere near what they should be, and my teachers keep saying I'm not working hard enough. So I feel like I'm not going to get anywhere, like I'm a lost cause, I don't have a future to look forward to. You could approach that conversation not by focusing on where they're going wrong in relation to their maths or English, but where they're going right in relation to other things they might be skilled at. So if you notice that this young person is telling you all this whilst doodling in their notepad, and you notice that their drawings are actually really, really great and they have a talent when it comes to art, you could navigate that conversation by saying like, hey, you're actually really amazing at that. Have you thought about doing an art course? Like I said, it won't be that example, and I know it's a lot more nuanced than that. I can't speak for other countries, but I know in the UK, to even access some forms of higher education, you do have to meet certain maths or English requirements. So I understand why that is a priority. But a kid who is constantly being told all the ways they're bad or all the ways they're not living up to expectations is way more likely to sort of think, what's the point? Like, I'm not even going to try, than a kid who is, for example, told, hey, you have some amazing talent here. And even if you are never going to be amazing at maths or English, I think with the right support, we could get you the grades you need so you can nurture this incredible art talent that you have. It doesn't mean that that kid is suddenly going to be getting A's in maths or English, but it might give them the motivation to try now that they have a passion to strive towards. And that makes all the difference. And that's what your love does for people. It makes them want to try in whatever way that applies. It makes them see like, hey, actually the fact I'm an adult and still have to add up using my fingers doesn't make me useless and untalented. It just means I shine better in other areas that aren't maths. And that's actually a huge realization for people who have never ever been told that they even have the potential to shine or to strive for more than before. Being loved by you is always having a person who advocates for you and who knows that you're worth saving. I don't know why I'm getting that phrase, worth saving, but being yours is being bullied into being the best version of yourself. And I don't mean it as in like you literally bully people, but that King of Swords can be known as kind of a bit of a tyrant. And then we have this Ace of Wands in reverse, which can indicate missed opportunities or wasted talent or potential, letting things pass you by, not always taking action. So the experience of being loved by you is having this strict bootcamp leader, like King of Swords type person on your back, making sure that you're utilizing that potential and making sure you don't let anything that's for you pass you by. So if someone you care about is stood there with their shoulders slumped, looking really sorry for themselves, looking deflated, and they're asking like, why should I try? What's the point? Your answer is always, why not? As this bootcamp leader, that's what you instill in them. That's what you shout at them. You know if someone is making excuses as to why they can't do something, you're going to give them a million ways they can, and you are going to show up for them to help them do it. So again, as is the case with all my examples, this one won't apply to you, but it's giving me this vibe of like somebody you love not applying for their dream job because they're missing one qualification, so they're too insecure to go for it. And they're saying like, oh, why bother? They're just going to select someone more qualified. And you're going to be like, why not you? You deserve this, I'll help you apply. And this person could be running away from what they truly want and saying like, no, I can't do it. I don't have this specific qualification that they're asking for. And you're like, well, I just signed you up to a course to get the qualification. And this person might say, you know, I can't afford the course, I can't do it. And you're like, I already paid for it, we're going together, let's do it. Or, you know, this could be somebody putting off their health issues because it's really hard to get an appointment. So when you ask, like, oh, have you phoned your doctor yet? They're like, no, why bother? What's the point? I can never get through. And you're like, well, okay, but your health isn't going to get any better by sitting on your ass. But if you're too exhausted to do it, I will phone for you. I'll go with you, I'll hold your hand at your appointment, and I will be your advocate. It's always having someone who has unyielding faith in you that you can and do deserve better. The people who you care for know that they will never be able to run away from their success when they're alongside you, because you are like this talent scout. You find the good in people and you help them use it. There's also something about the way that you love helping people build up their emotional strength and resilience. Maybe it's via advocating for them one little step at a time. You know, if we use that booking a health appointment example, if somebody has been running away from their health responsibilities for years, the idea of doing something like that in and of itself can seem overwhelming to that person. But if you're that person who steps in and you're like, come on, I'll make the appointment for you, I'll go with you, they might get over that initial hurdle and then kind of be like, you know, actually that wasn't so bad. Maybe I won't let it go as long next time. You know, maybe I can make my own health appointments. Being loved by you allows people to overcome their insecurities one little step at a time. And a part of this is like you turn the things that people have been made to feel ashamed about into these potential opportunities for success. You know, if someone, for example, has been bullied for having a disability their whole life and they tell you about what they went through and they sum that experience up by saying, like, and that's why I'll never amount to anything, you will turn around and say, the way you told me that story about what you went through hit me so hard, like you should get into disability advocacy or you should write about your experiences. The people who have been loved by you say that the experience is like a never-ending journey of introspection and self-discovery. People might not even know what's possible for them until they encounter you and until you present them with all these new options. And you do so with so much passion and so much enthusiasm that they have no other option than to start believing in themselves the way that you believe in them. Your love helps people get out of bad situations and to improve the things that they are capable of improving. With the Hermit and the Six of Cups showing up together, this is making me think that experiencing your love not only allows people to do some deep soul searching in order to reassess what they're capable of, but it also coaxes them out of their shell whilst doing so. Your love offers a safe space for their biggest dreams, desires, and fantasies. There's also something about your love being benevolent. Like you nurture people by giving to them, whether it's giving them the truth, whether it's giving them emotional support, positive reinforcement, access to opportunities. You really realize that by lifting people up rather than telling them what they lack or taking resources away from them, that is the best way that people can reach their potential. So being loved by you means always having someone who is willing to offer a compliment or a helping hand or assistance with getting back on their feet if needed. Your love is having someone there to say like, hey, I'm here to help you, not to harm you. And the image I'm getting is of someone coaxing a cat over to them. We did also talk about cat in Pal 2, but maybe when that cat has gone out on a limb and trusted or approached people before, it's had water thrown at it. So now it stays hidden, it stays in solitude to avoid being told it's unwanted or it doesn't belong. But you are not there to pour water on the cat. You are there to promise the cat that if it comes to you, it is going to get food, it's going to get water, it's going to get pets, it's going to get a warm bed for the night. You're saying if you just take this little step, all of that can be yours. You're telling that cat that they can have a much better life if they just put one paw in front of the other. Basically, not everyone has given up on this cat. And when later that cat ends up in a cozy home, the cat is thinking, I'm so glad I put one paw in front of the other and went towards that human, because now I have everything I could ever want or need. I have stability, I have security, and now I'm happy, now I'm purring, and this is the life. And that's what experiencing your love does for people. You just have to get them to believe that their efforts are worth something. You give them faith that they are deserving of more and that they can have the things they want. And your love says to people like, hey, the world isn't always here to take from you. Sometimes it can give to you too. Your love says to people, come on, just walk a few steps and take the treat in my hand, and I promise there are more treats waiting at home. It says to people, I will help you to heal, but you have to stop deceiving yourself and telling yourself that you don't have things going for you or that you can't rely on anyone for help, so you have to be alone. because I am here. I see you, I see your potential, and I'm going to be with you every step of the way. Let's move towards healing together. Your love tells people, stop claiming your positive attributes don't exist because they are right in front of me and I'm going to tell you what you can do with them. It also tells people that they have a safe space to discuss their wildest dreams. You know, if people feel jaded by the world or they feel like they once had aspirations, but they were told those aspirations were silly or unrealistic or not possible for them, you're here to say, well, why not? You're here to say, I'm not going to shit on your ideas. I'm listening. Tell me what you want from life, and I'll tell you how you can get it, even if you don't think you can. I don't care if people have said your ideas are silly or ridiculous. I'm going to tell you why they're not that out of reach. And the way you love people by believing in them, by not lying to them, by advocating for them and supporting them, you can not only help people with these small changes, but you can actually encourage people to build entire empires, because your love helps people to shift their perspective and re-examine the things they have built their identity based on. And once they start to realize that one thing is possible, a whole host of other things also start to become possible. Once the ball is rolling, it does not stop. Or once they have successfully completed one challenge, your love helps them navigate the next one. And in turn, the people who are yours are able to create a life they once never thought was possible, in no small part due to you and the ways you have helped them. Your love is so crucial for their well-being. Your love keeps people stable. It makes them feel as though they have a solid foundation. Being yours means being truly blessed with long-lasting happiness and abundance in absolutely every way. You help people's dreams come true. So that is what I'm getting for your tarot reading, pile 3. I really hope you enjoyed this reading today. If you did like the reading, please like the video. Please do me a massive favour and comment. Let me know what resonated. Or please just let me know what pile you picked, or anything like that if you don't feel comfortable letting me know what resonated. Please sub if you haven't done so already. I would really appreciate that. It just helps me and this channel out so much. And on a personal note, I do genuinely love hearing from you guys. With all of that said, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to this reading. Take care, and I will see you in the next one. Hi Pile 4 Collective, if you chose Pile 4 and you chose the Modern Witch Tarot and the hair clip sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a thorough breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out the introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. But today we are going to be asking, how does it feel to be yours? So what is it like to be loved by you, cared for by you, and belong to you? And I wanted to do this reading today because very often we know how we give love and we know how we receive love from others, but we don't always get to experience how exactly it feels to receive our own personal brand of love, because we always tend to just give it out. So this reading is going to explain what it feels like to be loved by you specifically. So we are going to be starting off by looking at your overarching energy, and then we are going to move along to what it feels like to be yours. Now, this is not exclusive to romantic relationships. This reading is for anybody who has love to give in their life, whether it is romantic, whether it's to family, to friends, to causes or passion projects. This is just about the impact you leave on people and places when you care, when you love them, and when they are a big part of your life. Usual disclaimer, it's a collective reading and not every single detail will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. But with all of that said, let's get started with your reading today. So we are going to be starting off by looking at your energy. We're mostly going to be looking at tarot cards today, but we are looking at this one oracle card, and that will be an astrological sign to represent a part of your energy. If this sign is a prominent sign in your chart or you notice any synchronicities on the card, please take that as extra confirmation, but please do note the sign mentioned here does not have to be prominent in your chart for this to be your pile. We're going to be looking at this card and we're going to be looking at 4 tarot cards from this pile to look at your overarching energy. So this one card is just an aspect of your identity, not the full thing. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at what we pulled for you, pile 4. So to start off with, we have got Libra. Relevant dates are September 23rd to October 22nd. Traits are optimistic, gracious, charming, perfectionist, indecisive, controlling. Element is air. Ruling planet is Venus. Major arcana card is Justice. Stones are opal and peridot. Colours are pink and green. Lucky numbers are 4, 6 and 9. And flowers are rose and daisy. And then I'm just going to pop your hair clip here. And we have got the Knight of Swords, the 6 of Swords, we have got the Fool, and we have got the Tower. Okay, interesting. So it wouldn't surprise me if you guys had prominent Venus placements in your chart. Seventh house energy themes could also be very significant to you. We did get Taurus coming through in pile 1, and I did speak about Venusian energy there too, so if you were drawn to pile 1, you could check that out. There is definitely an overlap with pile 1 in terms of you guys also being straight up beautiful human beings. Like, you just radiate that love energy. You have those vibes of like everything you touch, you can somehow make it better, you can beautify it, you can turn it to gold. And the thing is, I don't doubt that many of you are physically attractive. A lot of you are just simply God's favorite in terms of your looks, and you are just really, really pretty, really handsome, whatever. But your looks would be nowhere near as effective if it wasn't for the simultaneous charm that you have going for you. And that is not to underplay the impact of your physical beauty, but ultimately, somebody can have the most attractive face or body in the entire world, but if they have a stinky attitude, the pretty face or body very quickly loses its power. But you have both in spades, you have it in bucket loads, and that's part of your personal power. When I see Libra or Venus or 7th house energy showing up strongly in a chart, my immediate thought is like, this person could get me to do anything. I think, this is a person who has the gift of the gab, this person knows how to work the room, this person can charm their way into or out of anything. Like, I fully believe if a Libra dominant person was caught by a serial unaliver who was intent on hurting them, they would probably find a way to talk themselves out of it. And not only would they escape alive and well, but they'd have a note slipped into their pocket from the unaliver, like, oh, sorry, I tried to murder you, but thank you so much for the recipe, because they can get even the most oppositional energies on their side. I know that's obviously an exaggeration, but basically what I'm saying is if somebody wants to do something or doesn't want to do something, Libra can convince that person to do the opposite and make them think that it was their idea in the first place. And to be honest, it is the same for other air signs too. But I think it's important to recognize that as a tremendous power, because as a Scorpio dominant person myself, people love to mention how powerful Scorpio energy is. And yes, Scorpio, Pluto or Mars or 8th house energy, it's powerful because it's all about destruction and rebirth. It's about burning things to the ground to start anew. But other energies are just as powerful in different ways, and Libra energy in particular is so underestimated for its ability to convince everybody it is unassuming, all the while maintaining control behind the scenes via the power of gentle persuasion. Libra energy can riz the unrizzable and use it to their advantage. They wield their power in such a way that it is gracious enough and charming enough to often be viewed as non-threatening, but it is just as, if not more powerful than other kinds of energies. I'm hearing the phrase, you can catch more flies with honey. So I think this is saying like being sweet is the way forward. I think you guys kind of live by that mantra that kindness goes far. Being sweet to people can get you more than sourness or bitterness can get you. But people should absolutely not mistake your sweetness for weakness, because it is definitely not that. I don't know, there's something a little unassuming and almost coy about your vibe, but at the same time, I think you definitely know more than you let on. Even with like this hair clip sticker, I'm hearing the phrase sitting pretty, and it's almost like you have this vibe of like, who, me? I'm just an innocent girl. It's like this veneer of naivety, but at the same time, you are a lot more clued on than what people think. It's this energy of like, you have them all eating out of the palm of your hand and they don't even know that you're the one pulling the strings. I don't know if this is even making sense to anyone, but that is just the energy that I'm feeling. You know how to play your role just right, so people can continue to think what they think. But equally, you are aware of a lot more going on around you than what people give you credit for. For some of you, I know this won't apply for everyone, but this could actually have something to do with like patriarchal standards or misogyny. I don't believe that this pile has to be gender specific, but the examples I use often relate to my experiences as a woman in society. And the scene that's playing out in my head, it's like people feeling safe to say things around you because they think that you're not really listening or you're not really processing it. And maybe some element of that is wrapped up in misogyny in a way, because it's this vibe of the people around you saying like, oh, it's okay, it's only pal 4 in the room and they're too busy applying their lip gloss to hear us. But in reality, you know exactly what's going on, you've sussed them out, you've been playing dumb and taking notes the whole time. And it won't be that specific example for you, but it is definitely an energy of you being a lot more intelligent than people give you credit for. So you could notice that people frequently underestimate you. And maybe some of you, it's like you let people think these things because it works for you to kind of remain undercover and utilize your intelligence when it benefits you to do so. And the reason I mentioned misogyny specifically is because femmes are often not given the same grace when it comes to being considered more complex than one-dimensional caricatures than their masculine counterparts. Of course, it is a lot more complex than how I'm currently explaining it, but to oversimplify it here a lot, women are often put into these binaries of like, you're either pretty or you're smart, but you can't possibly be both. Or you're either pure or you're a slut, you know, the whole Madonna whore complex thing. And especially if you're a femme who dares to unashamedly enjoy things like fashion or makeup or getting your nails done or watching dumb reality TV occasionally. In those instances, it's often automatically assumed that you are ditzy or you're superficial or incapable of deep or philosophical thought. And I know the majority of rational people do not make these assumptions, but you'd be surprised by how many people still do. But I think there's something about you where you surprise other people in the way that you just blow their expectations right out of the water. You really do shock people. It's like the whole time they thought you weren't listening or processing, and it's like you were actually just gathering information or something like that. And even if you don't identify as a femme or anything along those lines, it doesn't have to be that it's misogyny. It could just apply in the sense that your power kind of goes undetected because on the surface you're this warm, sweet, bubbly, friendly, outgoing person, and therefore people interpret that as non-threatening. But really, you're just as dangerous in the sense that you're clued on to everything that's happening around you. You just don't let on that you do, and it shocks people when you show that you've been listening the whole time. That's something that I'm getting. And again, I'm not saying you have to be a woman or anything like that, but you definitely give me like a very Elle Woods kind of vibe. Like all along, you've been the one not to mess with. You've been competent, you've got the beauty and the brains and the intellect, but people sometimes only choose to see one thing and then they feel caught off guard when you prove them wrong. The law could be significant to this pile in particular. Maybe some of you do work in the legal system, or you have some kind of legal battle going on right now, and that might just be for one person. But even if that's not the case for many of you, I'm definitely getting that you are probably individuals who have a very strong sense of justice sensitivity. It wouldn't surprise me if a lot of you spoke out about injustices or you were activists in some way. You could definitely be people who root for the underdog, or you stick up for the people in society who are being, I'm hearing like unfairly scapegoated. But you manage to do this in a way that is just really balanced and diplomatic. Like, I always think it's interesting that most of the zodiac signs are represented by sentient beings, and Libra is represented by an object, the scales. And that's not me trying to compare you to an object, but I do think there is some kind of message in there about you being able to advocate for tolerance and democracy and fairness through logic and through detachment to some degree, whereas other energies might find it harder to stay balanced or objective or to keep their composure because there's this burden of sentience and everything is being filtered through that first. And I don't want that to sound like, oh, you can be objective and detached because you don't have feelings, or you're not sentient, because you obviously are and you obviously do. But I do think you're gifted at reaching that place of like, what is right, what is good, what is fair, quicker than other people at times, and that makes you an excellent advocate. It makes you someone who is absolutely always striving for peace and for the greater good. You're not somebody who is easily swayed into extremism. You're somebody who is great at seeing multiple sides of a situation and creating a space for lots of different perspectives to be heard. I can imagine you being the kind of person who sort of lets people talk, you let them have their opinion, and you let them think that you're not really listening. And even if it's something you disagree with, you'd be able to keep your cool and just kind of be like, oh, that's an interesting perspective. You might seem chill about it or like you're avoiding conflict or something, but then you turn around and say something that surprises them. I could imagine you actually making an excellent defense lawyer. You're very quick-witted, very good at thinking on your feet. You have this vibe kind of like, oh, you thought I was just here to play and to fool around? No, let me tell you a thing or two, like let me put you in your place. There's definitely something about you that is just shocking to people. You're not what people expect. You actually cause a lot of upheaval in people's lives, but I don't think that this is for like bad reasons. Maybe it's just that they judge you wrong based on this initial impression, or maybe you're good at arguing your case and changing people's perspectives and the way they think about things, or maybe people are shocked just by how much of an impact you have on them. Maybe when they first meet you, They think like you're not going to be friends or you're not going to be a big part of their life, but then you are. I wouldn't be surprised if people you were supposed to be being casual with romantically ended up falling for you, as one example, because it's this vibe of like, oh, it's just fun, it's just flirting. And then like, oh wait, no, I'm in love with the tower. So maybe people who weren't expecting to feel that way end up feeling that way towards you. I wouldn't be surprised actually if some of you have or have had trouble committing in the past. Don't come for me if that's not you. That's not going to be for everyone. But it is interesting. Libra energy also reminds me of being like a hopeless romantic. Some of you could identify that way. Like you have a bit more of a mushy centre than what you let on. It wouldn't surprise me actually if some of you guys loved Wattpad fanfiction. Like you love this idea of an intense, passionate love. But at the same time, you do not like to be held down. So you could have ended up in situations where people have fallen for you and you've just had to push back or dip out or go off and explore new things because you don't just want to be tied down to one thing. You're like a born adventurer and you really value your freedom. This makes me think of someone who doesn't mind just starting again and rebuilding from the ground up. Like if you're not happy, you will find a way to escape and move on and start something entirely new. You are not afraid to begin again. You could have had lots of different kinds of jobs or you fall in love with lots of different kinds of hobbies. I'm also getting the vibe of somebody who says, I don't really have a type. So that could be you, like you don't have a type, but you just know when it hits you because it's more about the vibe of the person rather than them matching a specific criteria. You just know whether someone's going to be important to you when you get those fluttery feelings. You could also be someone who believes in romance to the point where, like, even if you know practically something is not going to work, if you feel the feelings, you are going to go for it anyway. Because you're kind of like, you know, what if this is the love of my life and we miss out on this opportunity? You have to know what it's like, even if you know that it's going to end in disaster. It's like you have to at least try. I'm hearing that Taylor Swift lyric. I can't remember what song it's from, but the one where she's like, it's going to be forever, it's going to go down in flames, or something along those lines. I feel like this is saying, you know, you're not afraid to take a chance, even if you know that it could all blow up in your face. And also, you might fall quite hard and deep for people, but when it's over, you are not afraid to love again. You're not afraid to go on a new adventure. Not to call you out, pal, for this won't be for all of you, but you could kind of get sprung over people quite quickly. And you say to your friends, like, oh, I really feel like this is the one, like it feels different this time. And your friends are rolling their eyes like, oh no, not another one of Pal 4's escapades. Like they said this about the last 3 people. I'm not saying you're like constantly flitting from one person to the next, but I think this is more like you don't let your past heartbreak stop you from experiencing new love and from loving fiercely again and again. You're not somebody who would swear off love forever because of one bad experience. Like, sure, it might take you some time to get over it, but ultimately you're going to be like, where's my new adventure? You want to keep that faith that love is out there for you. And you could have found, like, even during times when a relationship has ended and you're like, I'm not getting into a relationship again, like when you meet someone new, you become obsessed and infatuated with them again and you're like, oh fuck it, let's just see where this goes. I feel like you interpret each relationship you experience as a learning opportunity and you do always take something from it. You're good at healing from things and then kind of being like, I'm ready now to start again. I definitely get the impression that you're someone who likes to add whimsy to their life. I don't know why I keep getting the word whimsy, but maybe romanticizing certain aspects of your life is something that helps you build habits and maintain your routine. It also wouldn't surprise me if you had kind of a cute quirk about you. Like maybe you're the kind of person who always says thank you to the machines at the self-checkout just because, or you're someone who will be like, let's go foraging for berries because we feel like it. You have a kind of childlike wonder about you. You could identify with being a little bit of an escapist at times, and maybe you daydream or you zone out quite a bit. Maybe you're somebody who has the tendency to go into freeze mode or shut down if you're dealing with something difficult. You could have a tendency to sort of ignore the problem or pretend it's not there or that it'll go away if you don't look at it. Some of you might procrastinate or you go through phases where you end up in burnout because you've ignored things for so long that one day it just all falls down on top of you and you're like, oh, this structure has crumbled, we need to start again. Some of you leave your messages on read a lot and you let them kind of build up. Or, you know, one other example could be you like putting off some of your health appointments because you're like, oh, I'm fine, like I'll deal with it later. But then you don't deal with it and you end up with a bigger problem because you ignored the first problem. It's that kind of vibe. Won't be that for everyone though. It doesn't have to be just that example. It could be like, you know, not handing in assignments on time and then getting more assignments piling up on top of you. I am definitely getting something about perfectionism. You could be a perfectionist who procrastinates. because before you can start something, it has to be like just the right set of circumstances. You could be someone who adds just the right finishing touches to things. Like even with this hair clip, it's making me think of someone who, if they're putting an outfit together, they don't forget to accessorize. They make sure that all the finishing touches just pop because they want the overall vibe to be cohesive. It wouldn't surprise me if you had both Libra and Virgo in your chart, or maybe Taurus and Virgo, or maybe some Scorpio even as well. There's definitely something about you being quite a perfectionist who occasionally gets stuck in analysis paralysis because you want everything to be just right. You are ultimately someone who is always down for an adventure. You're always down to be silly with your friends. You're always up for a laugh. You are probably always smiling, or maybe you have a breathtaking smile. You are probably somebody who laughs a lot or giggles a lot. I'm getting something about you having a cute laugh, and you just have like a really beautiful, really positive, sunny vibe about you. So that's what I'm getting for your oracle reading, Powerful. That was all about your energy. But now we are going to move along to the tarot portion, and we are going to be asking what it feels like to be yours. So this is the point where hopefully you know whether this is your pile or not, and now we are going to be asking what your loved ones feel about their experience of being on the receiving end of your devotion. Thank you for listening so far, and I will see you in your tarot reading, Powerful. Hi Powerful Collective, welcome back to the tarot portion of your reading. Without hesitation, let's get started and have a look at the cards we pulled for you. So I'm just going to put these cards to one side for now. Don't worry if not all the cards are in frame at first. I'm going to lay the cards and then I'll check the camera to make sure that they're all in frame. Okay, but to start off with, we have got the Seven of Wands reversed. And we have got the Five of Swords reversed. We've got the Page of Wands, and the clarifier for the Page of Wands is Temperance. We have got the Empress, and the clarifier for the Empress is the Eight of Pentacles. We have got the Devil, and the clarifier for the Devil is the Queen of Swords. And we have got the Nine of Pentacles, and the clarifier for the Nine of Pentacles is the World. I don't know if I've said this before, but the girl on this Seven of Wands specifically always reminds me of Kim Possible, so that could be significant to some of you guys who chose this pile. But okay, first of all, being yours means having to surrender, okay? It means having to hold your hands up and say like, hey, you got me, I've got no fight left in me. And I think this actually refers to like people giving into their feelings for you. Like they're always going to eventually admit defeat when it comes to you. Because the thing is, quite honestly, you are just a hugely lovable person. There is something very adorable about your energy, and you kind of find a way to get people to love you in spite of themselves. And I'm not saying everybody who loves you or everybody who is in your life loves you in spite of not wanting to. But what I'm saying is whether they want to love you or not, they're going to love you. Oh, I know we mentioned something about maybe some of you guys liking Wattpad fiction or liking romantic books earlier. And the trope this is reminding me of, it's kind of like grumpy versus sunshine. So maybe you are the sunshine in people's lives and you have this tendency to get even the grumpiest, most cynical, grinchiest ass person to just absolutely love you. Like maybe some of the best friends you have now are people who were initially like, oh, you annoyed me at first, like you were too smiley, you were too bubbly, you were too nice, but now I don't know what I'd do without you. And in romantic relationships, it's like, you know, even the people who have sworn off love, they don't believe in it, or they just want to keep things casual, even those people end up finding themselves like smiling when they think about you. It's giving me the vibe of people kind of rolling their eyes at you and calling you a fool, but then secretly they're like, well, actually, I've never cared about anyone more than I care about this fool right here. Like, you definitely could have got a lot of shy or more introverted or standoffish people to open up to you. Like people who don't have many friends, you end up being a friend to in some way. It's giving me the vibe of like people not wanting to be soppy or admit when they love you, but showing it in these little ways. And maybe you kind of tease them and you're like, oh my God, you love me. And they're like blushing and they're trying to stay stoic because they think, you know, love is all a bunch of airy fairy nonsense. But secretly, you have like hit them right in their heart. They're head over heels for you. So that example even that we gave about the serial murderer wanting to cause you harm but actually letting you go and thanking you for the recipe because actually you've managed to charm the pants off them. It's that kind of vibe, like you weave your way into people's hearts and you leave a mark there and they are powerless to fight it. There's also something about people feeling like being yours makes them overbearing or something like that. I don't know why I'm getting that word. So this could be like you get that person who is usually unbothered and nonchalant in their feelings, and whereas they're usually great at remaining detached, when they're yours, it feels like suddenly they're this overprotective person. Suddenly they're all up in your business, they're texting you nonstop, they're checking your location or wanting to see you all the time. Like suddenly the person who says they weren't bothered is bothered. It's that kind of thing. And for some people who love you, this could just be out of concern for your safety, because when people are yours, they become very protective over you. But for some of you, this could have led to some instances where you were in like controlling situations, like romantic relationships wanting to be very full on with you very quickly, or getting overly involved in your business. So it can go either way. For some, this is overbearing more out of a genuine desire to keep you safe. And for others, it might be due to the other person's insecurities and them not wanting to lose you. Because I think the thing is, Pal 4, you have this vibe where you don't like to be held down. You're very free-spirited and you like to do a little bit of everything. And I think quite honestly, like we mentioned in the oracle, you're not naive, you're not easily led, you're not easily manipulated. But sometimes the people who love you because they don't want to see you hurt, they feel as though they have to be the ones to step in and protect you. So this could even be like an overbearing parent getting overly involved in your business because they see you as this like cute, delicate little flower, not knowing that actually like you can look after yourself. I think when people are yours, they have this thing where they're kind of like, you know, I will go to the ends of the earth to protect Pal 4, you better not hurt them. And it's not like you need anyone to do that necessarily, but you are so sweet and lovable, and a lot of people find you adorable, that people feel like to hurt you would be like to hurt a newborn puppy. So a lot of people who are yours are like, nope, not on my watch, that's not happening. So you could have a group of friends who sort of want to act as your bodyguards when you go out, and they make sure that people with ill intentions don't approach you and things like that. And again, it's not that they think you can't stick up for yourself, but they're immediately like, you know, Pal 4 is this ray of sunshine and you do not get to stand in their light with your ill intentions. Like you are not even getting close to them. But at the same time, there is something about being yours, meaning that people have to like share their territory. So I think this is something that people close to you have to become accustomed to, and in some instances it could cause some jealousy. And when I say share their territory, I don't mean that all of you guys are like juggling 10 different people on your roster, like you have tons of side men or side chicks or something like that. I mean, you could have that if you wanted to, and if any of you guys are into more open relationships or into non-monogamy and it's consensual, there is absolutely zero wrong with that. But I think what I mean, it's more like, you know, because you're popular, because you're attractive, because you're often busy trying new things, or because you value your own freedom, those who are yours have to accept that your energy is pulled in lots of different directions. And as much as they'd like to, they can't keep all of you for themselves. So if that sounds a bit confusing, I'm going to give you a couple of tangible examples. Let's say because you're someone who has the gift of the gab and you can make friends easily, you might manage to befriend a person who doesn't really have other friends or has never had a friend like you. And if you befriend that person, it's highly likely that they're going to consider you their best friend, whereas maybe you have like 10 best friends. I don't know why, but I'm thinking of a primary school fight about who is whose best friend, or like who is whose top MySpace friend or something like that. It's like you manage to capture the hearts of so many individual people. You leave such an impression on them that they're always going to put you as their top friend on MySpace, but you don't know who to put as yours because you've got so many people that you care about. So this could lead to situations where people want you to be just for them. They want to spend all their time with you. They want to be talking to you all the time. They want to be the most important person in your life. But when they're yours, they have to realize that other people want your attention too. Being yours means having an understanding that even if you're in a relationship, like people are still going to try and hit you up. It's understanding that you're very in demand. So again, that could cause some friction in romantic relationships because even when you're not doing anything to attract attention, people might not want to respect your relationship boundaries and they might be trying to flirt with you anyway. So I think being yours is understanding that there's always going to be someone pining after you. The people who love you are aware that there are a lot of people around who want what's theirs. You could have experienced, even in friendships, people getting jealous when you make a new friend because they're like, I know how it feels to be loved by Pal 4 and I don't want to lose it to this other person. That could have definitely been something you experienced when you were younger in friendship circles especially. But it doesn't even necessarily have to be a competition with other people. It could be people kind of vying for your attention and competing with each other in that sense. But as another separate, tangible example, it could also be people competing with other projects or things that you care about, things that you have going on. And it's something to do with you not compromising your sense of freedom. So, for example, if you have booked to do some solo travel because you want to, like that's important to you, if you then get into a relationship, the person you're in a relationship with might be like, oh, are you sure you can't cancel this travel because we're going to be apart for X many weeks or months and they don't want to be apart from you. And in that situation, I feel like you're not compromising your freedom to make that person happy. Like if you've got to go and do something overseas, you're going to go and do it and not let them talk you out of it. But maybe if that person is insecure, they could feel like, you know, Pal 4 is the center of my world, but I'm not the center of theirs because they have their own thing going on. And that's a really, really good thing. Like nobody should be the only thing in anyone else's world. And the right people understand that is what I'm trying to say. Like the people who genuinely love you understand that sometimes you have to go off and explore and do what you got to do and have those adventures and have those passion projects that are just yours. They know that they have to share you with other things, but it's okay because the people you care about aren't any less important just because you care about other people or other projects or whatever the case may be. This is also making me think, like, if you were ever in a controlling relationship and someone was like, oh, you're going to stop dressing like that and wearing makeup now that we're together, right? And you'd just be like, no, I'm going to do what I want because you don't compromise your freedom. So people know if they want to have you, it can't just be their way. You have to have your own autonomy. So the experience of being loved by you, it's basically knowing that you won't ever be just theirs. Like you won't ever solely belong to that person because you have your own things going on. So in a romantic relationship, you might say like, yes, I belong to you and you belong to me, but fundamentally, I also belong to myself and you also belong to yourself. I'll never be like just your spouse or something like that. You know, I think it's very easy for the people who are yours to get addicted to your energy and to want to spend all their time with you. But sometimes in order to keep your autonomy, you have to go and focus on other things. And that's more than okay. It's actually really, really healthy, Pal 4. And this could be really good for you too, especially if in the past you have been the kind of person who finds it really easy to get wrapped up in relationships. It could be really good for you to maintain that balance by having things going for you other than just those relationships. I feel like being yours also means learning to be okay with the little secrets that you just keep for you. And I think this kind of goes back to what we were saying about you having your own independent stuff going on. Like one example I'm getting, this is giving me the vibe of, you know, someone you're dating desperately wanting to see you. And you might be like, you know, I really want to see you too, but I'm spending some time writing tonight. Like I'm trying to write this book. And this person is like, what are you writing? Can I see? Can I read it? And I feel like you'd be like, no, you absolutely cannot, because some things are just for you. They are yours to keep to yourself. And the people who care about you realize that. They know you need your space and they don't get to invade your business. But I think they're constantly curious about what you're doing and what you're up to. It could also be like, you know, the people who love you, it's like every day they get to find out something new about you. Like every day a new secret is exposed essentially, because I think it takes a long time to unpeel the many layers of who you are as a person. So you can have a ton of conversations with the people in your life and you are being really open and honest, but you've had so many adventures and there are so many crazy stories that even when that person thinks that they know everything, they really don't. So if, for example, you're out with someone you love, someone you have known a long time, and they think they know a lot of what there is to know about you, being yours means constantly being surprised and shocked by these new truths that come out. So in that situation, in that example, maybe you bump into someone you knew in the past and you are catching up all friendly, and then afterwards the person you're with is like, who was that? You have never mentioned that person before. And you're like, oh my God, that's Bob. We went scuba diving together when I lived in Australia for a year teaching orphans. And this person you're with is like, whoa, okay, I didn't know you'd been scuba diving or lived in Australia. I didn't know you used to teach orphans. Like, this is all news to me. You have lived so much and I didn't even know any of that. It doesn't have to be that example, obviously, but it's that kind of vibe where what you say or what you've done shocks people. And even if they think they know everything about you, you still have some of your own little secrets from these past versions of you. There's something about your communication style being highlighted here. I definitely feel like when someone is yours, you're probably going to pop up spontaneously to check in with them. Like, you might not always be 100% consistent consistent in terms of your communication, but I do feel like even when you're gone for a while, you will pop back up with some funny anecdote, or you share a meme, or you tell this person some random thing that just happened to you, or you send a voice note with a crazy story. And it's like people never know what they're going to get with you. So they see a voice message pop up and they don't know what it says yet. So they might be like, I'm going to play this later when I'm alone, because I have no idea whether Powerful will be telling me about a new job or whether they're telling me about a schmexual endeavour that they just had. Like, they don't know if it's going to be suitable for work or not. They don't know what to expect, but they know it's going to be fun and they know they're looking forward to listening to it. I feel like being yours is knowing that there's going to be balanced conversation, there's going to be give and take. You're not the kind of person to just talk solidly about yourself for 10 minutes and not ask the other person any questions. Some of you might be yappers, true, but you're also good listeners when it comes to taking an interest in people's lives. Like, you probably make a great first impression at a first date or a job interview because you are so attentive, you put a lot of care into your responses, and it seems like you do prioritise peace and prioritise getting along with people. Like, you're not conversing, looking for an argument or starting a conflict from nowhere. You always seem relatively chill. Being yours is knowing that no matter what's going on in your life, you are going to give like a very chill and balanced response. So if someone were to ask you how you are, you would be like, yeah, I'm okay, like my house burnt down the other day, but I'm fine. Anyway, how are you? You just don't lose your cool. So I feel like the people who love you feel like it's stable in the sense of like, I know Powerful isn't the type to fall out or fight me for no reason. So even if you have an argument with somebody, I feel as though being loved by you is knowing that neither of you are going to go to bed angry. You could even have a thing where even if you are having an argument with somebody, you manage to find a way to like not take it seriously, or you crack up mid-argument, or you make some joke. So even if you're having a hard time with somebody, you can always get through it. There's this message that keeps coming through about people not knowing what to expect with you though. So I'm hearing like you might message someone and be like, oh my god, I just got detained at the airport in France. And this person is like, what do you mean you got detained? I didn't even know you'd gone to France. Like, what are you doing there? I don't know. It's that kind of energy. Oh my god, what I'm getting to is like, being loved by you means people really get to embrace their softer side. People really get all of their needs taken care of when they're with you. You probably give the best hugs in the entire world. I feel like your love is the equivalent of somebody gently stroking your hair and saying like, it's okay, tell me about your feelings, we listen, we don't judge. And the thing is, we mentioned it earlier, but you are attentive. The way you love, the way you give love, it makes people feel like they are the most important person in the world. When somebody is loved by you, it's very clear that you put a lot of focus on them. You make it all about them. You use your intuition and you're very good at picking up on what they need and accommodating that. And for a lot of people, that could just be emotional support, a listening ear. You're very good at providing a space to facilitate that. You are like, lay down, vent to me about your childhood trauma. Here's a pillow, here's a snack. Let me rub your back and stroke your hair and tell you that it's going to be okay. You don't have to go anywhere, do you? Being loved by you is like being inside of a pillow fort with cookies and milk and stuffed animals, like all of the comforts you could ever need. And so it's easy for people to not want to leave that space and not want to return to the real world, because feeling taken care of like that is addictive. I'm actually hearing the song Bed Piece by Childish Gambino and Janae. Like, being loved by you is having someone whispering in your ear and saying like, what if you just skipped work today and spent all day rolling around in bed with me? That would be so nice, wouldn't it? It's so tempting. Like, people want to do that. They want to spend all their time with you. They don't want to leave your side because it's just so comfortable and so cozy, and they have everything they need right where they are in your company. And I think that's what makes it easy for people to consider you. I guess they're like sweet escape or their break from reality to some degree. I also feel like being yours somehow feels like having status. I don't know, but maybe some people feel as though it's a flex to be with you because they see you as so accomplished, or they see you as somehow being a representation of abundance. I think people feel like it is a privilege to be yours because there's this acknowledgement of like, Powerful could be anywhere in the world right now, but they're here with me. They choose me, even if they have to get to XYZ location and they can only spend a couple of hours with me. It's going to be the best couple of hours of my life because I know in this moment that they're very focused on me. Like, it's still a blessing to get this time with them and be nurtured by them in this space. I think your understanding, your relatability, your adorableness, it just makes people feel like when they are loved by you, they've found this place where they belong and they don't ever want to leave. I feel like the experience of being loved by you is people knowing they can finally take it easy because they found someone they can harmonize with rather than feeling like they're in a constant battle. But at the same time, taking it easy does not mean becoming complacent. Being yours means having someone to kind of keep you accountable and kick the bad habits out of you if they arise, because you don't like staying stagnant. So you're the kind of person who would be honest if something is getting you down in a relationship or a friendship. If you're like, hey, we never plan date nights anymore and I need that excitement back, being yours means that other person wanting to step up their game and better themselves and put in that effort because they don't want to lose you to something more exciting, because you have a lot going for you elsewhere. They know you never just depend on this one thing to sustain you. So they know that there's going to be high expectations that come with being loved at this profound level. Being loved by you is always doing the very best they can to keep you interested because you need excitement in your life. You need fun and adventure. So being loved by you is someone knowing they'll always have that and much more with you if they're willing to put in the work and make that consistent effort. You might not be around for them every second of the day, but every second that they're with you is going to be like heaven for them. So that is what I'm getting for your reading, pal 4. I really, really hope you enjoyed this reading today. If you did like the reading, please like the video, please comment if you get a chance, let me know what resonated, or just let me know which pile you picked if you don't feel comfortable letting me know what resonated. Leave any kind of comment you can. That all helps me and this channel out so much. Please consider subbing if you haven't done so already. With all of that said, I really, really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you listening. Please take care and I'll see you in the next one. Hi Pal 5 Collective, if you chose Pal 5 and you chose the Lovely Ladies Tarot and the Strawberry Milk sticker, you are in the correct place. Welcome to your reading, friends. If you would like a thorough breakdown regarding what this reading will entail, please check out the introduction. I go through absolutely everything there. But today we are going to be asking, how does it feel to be yours? So what is it like to be loved by you, cared for by you, and belong to you? And I wanted to do this reading today because very often we know how we give love, we know how we receive love from others, but we don't always get to experience how exactly it feels to receive our own personal brand of love, because we always tend to just give it out. So this reading is going to explain what it feels like to be loved by you. We are going to be starting off by looking at your energy, and then we are going to move along to what it feels like specifically to be yours. Now, this is not exclusive to romantic love or those in relationships. This reading is for anybody who has love to give in their life, whether it's in a romantic way, whether it's to family, to friends, to causes and passion projects. This is about the impact you leave on people and places when you care, when you love them, and when they are a big part of your life. Usual disclaimer here, it's a collective reading and not every single detail will resonate. Always take what's for you and leave the rest for somebody else. But with all of that said, let's get started with your reading today. So we are going to be starting off by looking at your overarching energy. We're mostly going to be looking at a few tarot cards, but we are also looking at this one oracle card, and this will be an astrological sign to represent a part of your energy. If this sign is a prominent sign in your chart or you notice any synchronicities on this card, please take that as extra confirmation, but please do note the sign mentioned here does not have to be prominent in your chart for this to be your pile. Like I said, we're going to be looking at this oracle card, but we're also going to be looking at 4 tarot cards from this pile, and all of that together is going to represent you as a person and your overarching energy. With all of that said, let's get started and have a look at what we pulled for you, Pal 5. I'm going to pop your strawberry milk sticker just here. Okay, so we have got Aquarius. Relevant dates are January 20th to February 18th. Traits are clever, reliable, creative, pessimistic, stubborn, impulsive. Element is air, ruling planet is Uranus, major arcana card is the star, stones are amethyst and garnet, colours are blue and violet, lucky numbers are 3, 4 and 9, and flowers are orchid and gladiolus. I'm sorry if I cannot pronounce that. And in terms of tarot, we have got the Emperor, we have got the 2 of Pentacles, we have got the Page of Cups, and we have got the Ace of Cups. Okay, so the first word that springs to mind when I think of Aquarius energy is the phrase exclusivity. You are probably, and I mean this in the least offensive way possible, but you are probably a person who doesn't have that many friends. But let me be very clear here, it's because you like it that way. You probably have a lot of people who consider you a friend, but I think on your end, the people you actually trust, your circle is very small. And I'm hearing the phrase specifically, alone but never lonely. So I feel like you guys actually really love spending time by yourself. You like your own company. You like your independence. Now, that doesn't mean you do not have close relationships, but the close relationships you do have, it's like they've been carefully selected and cultivated by you. And you've probably had a lot of people trying to get in your inner circle, but they haven't been able to because you haven't wanted it that way. You radiate a kind of like, this is not a club that anyone can join kind of vibe. And it's not in a deliberately unfriendly high school mean girl sort of way. I think it's in a setting boundaries way of like, I only have so much to give and I'd rather give it all to the people I care about. You're definitely someone who has an awareness that if you don't set boundaries, it is easy to be taken advantage of. The thing is as well about Aquarius energy, whether you have Aquarius in your chart or not, is that they are fundamentally humanitarian in nature. And I'm not talking about that one Aquarius you met who couldn't care less about humanitarian causes and didn't give a shit about anything. I'm talking about the energy as a whole in its evolved state. Fundamentally, Aquarius wants to advocate for good causes. It wants to make the world better. It wants to help. It wants to create progress. And Aquarius are also known as the water bearers, which I think is why people often mistake them for water signs when they're actually air. And it's an easy mistake to make because as the water bearer, they hold the emotions of the collective consciousness. And that's a lot to deal with. So they have to be selective in where they expend their energy because otherwise they get people constantly approaching them like, hey, hold my feelings for me, fix my problems, help me. And that's okay if it's give and take, but sometimes it's not. And they just cannot take on everything. Nobody can. And I think when certain Aquarius energies come across as detached or uncaring, it is actually due to compassion fatigue. They can definitely slip into that very easily, like caring too much about everything, investing too much into the things they care about can lead to burnout. And yes, of course, some Aquarius energies who maybe aren't as evolved just might not care because maybe they're not great people. There's good and bad people under every sign. But I think definitely Aquarius is one of those signs that can get burnt out dealing with other people's emotions. And I think especially a lot of them will gravitate to work that is emotionally meaningful to them in some way. So a lot of this can be dealing with people, communities, maybe vulnerable people, something that connects communities. A lot of them have online platforms. And so, it's hard for them to see injustices in humanity day in, day out. It's hard to see people struggle and still stay semi-sane. So they become these queens or these kings of detachment in order to survive and keep their composure and to hold this weight. Because ultimately they do want to continue doing good in the world, but if they cared so much about everything all the time, it would just be too overwhelming. And so sometimes they have to take a step back and not hold too much inside. So you could definitely be someone who identifies with some aspects of that. You could be someone who would struggle doing a job that you don't feel is making a difference in some way. You might feel that you get drained by being around other people fairly easily. Some of you might have particular charities that you advocate for, or maybe you do volunteer work, or there are specific causes that you tend to speak out about. You tend to be quite vocal about societal things that you see as injustices. And again, you might therefore have to be selective about the people you let in, the people you spend your time with, because you can't be everything to everyone, basically. I feel like Aquarius energy is the most likely to prioritize what is important and fight for radical change. And sometimes to do that, they have to purposely detach, not because they don't care, but because unlike my little Cancer Mars having ass, they are aware that crying does not change anything. So they just fight the fight, they just get along with it, and they feel their feelings later. So maybe you identify with some of that. Maybe you're someone where, like, if something upset you at work, you would rather perish before you cried about it in front of other people. You might just think to yourself like, okay, I'm going to have a breakdown about that later, and you kind of store it, you schedule it for another time when you have the capacity to feel your feelings and to let them out. You might be someone who thrives on having deep conversations where you're like calling out political injustices or corruption in the system, or you're talking about aliens or spooky stuff or conspiracies and stuff like that. You could definitely be someone who likes to talk about the bigger issues. And I say that because as a Scorpio, I'm not supposed to be compatible with Aquarius, and yet some of my best friends have strong Aquarius in their chart. And I think a part of that is we both know because I'm 8th house dominant and they're 11th house dominant, we're not doing the small talk, like we're going deep straight away. And I love that personally. And you could kind of identify with being that kind of person who doesn't necessarily look at things on just an individual scale, but you discuss the societal implications because you're always thinking about things in this collective way. I actually feel like Aquarians don't get enough credit for how patient they can be, especially when they're disagreeing with people. And I think it's because they can keep a cool and logical head even when their emotions are invested in something. Like me with my Sagittarius Mercury, if someone says something that I disagree with because I think it's morally wrong, let's say, immediately I want to jump straight to saying, like, are you fucking dumb? And then my Cancer Mars makes me just want to cry because I'm like, why are you so fucking dumb? Like, it makes me sad. But Aquarius, on the other hand, their energy is kind of good at like asking the bigger questions and being curious in order to actually create change and make progress. That is what they're all about. So they could make excellent teachers because if a kid says something stupid, they're going to be good at being like, okay, like, why do you think that? And putting it in a bigger context, even if on the inside they're thinking, are you fucking dumb? So you could identify with keeping your cool in those kinds of situations, or any situations, to be quite honest. You might just be generally good at like keeping your cool and not showing too much emotion, not showing that things affect you in the moment. You could sometimes feel kind of awkward or like you have an awkward sense of humor, but honestly, I feel like you navigate social situations probably a lot better than you think. You could kind of be like an extroverted introvert or maybe an ambivert. Like, you come across as confident, and in the right situations, you can be really bubbly and talkative and take lots of initiative. But maybe you also need a lot of time to retreat and just spend time on your own and not be around anyone. A lot of you guys could be entrepreneurial in nature, like you have your own businesses or you think about starting a business. You could have lots of really interesting, unique, creative ideas up your sleeve. And the thing we mentioned about collective consciousness too, I feel like you're probably really, really great at predicting trends. This could make you incredible at marketing, and it could also be very helpful in an entrepreneurial sense because you're good at assessing, like, right, what is trending right now? What direction are we going in? You're great at looking forwards and figuring out what's going to come next and what the collective are going to be into. So it's like you're capable of creating something before it blows up or before it goes mainstream. You're good at getting ahead of the curve and kind of appealing to mass audiences through knowing what is going on at the collective in that moment. Some of you could kind of be like pop culture junkies, or you know a lot about world news and what's going on. You could also be someone who always has knowledge of, like, you know, all the latest style trends or all the latest memes, what's doing well on social media at the moment. Even if you don't care about any of that stuff, you have an awareness of it and how to use it and how to incorporate it into your life in this unique way. A lot of you guys stand out in some way, whether it's in terms of your appearance, like your style choice, maybe some of you dress a little bit more alternative, but you're people who come across as being confident with being authentically you. So you're not afraid to like have a little bit of a weird sense of humor or do a hobby that's kind of different, or you know, maybe have a slightly quirky sense of style. A lot of you could have careers, but you also have like a side hustle going, or you're just very busy, like your fingers are always in a lot of pies. Like, maybe if your day job is just a thing that you do to make money, maybe on the side you have a more artistic passion that you truly care about. So it's like you juggle both of those things. But you also have this thing where you make it look effortless. I definitely think you're someone who can appear like nothing phases you. You're good at maintaining a level of professionalism. I think you're someone who often has a lot going on in your life or in your head, but other people wouldn't know it because even if a lot of people open up to you, that doesn't really mean that you open up to a lot of people. So I think people will be surprised by how much you have going on, how much is on your plate, and how well you manage it all. Some of you, it's like, although you need your freedom, you could find that it's kind of this juxtaposition because you'll get in moods where you kind of want to be spontaneous, but actually a part of you thrives when you're in a routine. And some of you are very self-disciplined with your routine. You're pretty fixed when it comes to getting something done. You can be stubborn even when it comes to getting yourself to do things. I think it is clear that you have quite a lot of willpower. Some of you could be in a leadership role, or you could be involved with some form of public speaking where you have to step up and be kind of like this strong, confident emperor-like figure. I think we mentioned you being very good at keeping your composure, and I'm getting this vibe where, like, even if you had a moment where you were like, oh my god, that was so fucking embarrassing, you would never let it show on the outside. Like, people would never read it that way. And this could also apply, like, in situations where someone is talking to you and they're saying something fucking insane. Maybe you're thinking, like, does my face look crazy right now because what they just said is in fucking insane? But actually, you're keeping your composure really well. You're just like, oh, okay. I'm not going to react to that right now, but noted. You could have been told you multitask well, or you're good at navigating having a lot going on around you without getting flustered. Maybe you work in a busy environment, or you're always on the go, or you're always doing something, and people just think that you handle it with grace. I feel like you're someone who's maybe had a lot of romantic proposals in the past, or a lot of people saying they have had a crush on you, but maybe you haven't actually had a lot of relationships. Some of you, it's like you don't really do casual things. It's like maybe you have had a couple of serious relationships, but maybe when you date, it's with a lot of intent. So if it's not going to benefit you to mess around with someone, you're just not going to do it. You're kind of like about your business, I suppose. You don't let a lot of distractions get in your way. I think you definitely do have a soft and sentimental side, and you do show that to people you care about, but I think this emperor armor that you have is what people tend to see most in you. Like, your close circle are the people you'll open up to or ask advice from, but everyone else sees you on the move but kind of knows not very much about you because you're good at, I want to say, keeping calm and carrying on. I'm getting that very British phrase. So maybe some of you are British like me, or you just have that kind of vibe about you where you just keep calm and carry on. I definitely think people will be surprised by how creative you are, because maybe that's not something you tell a lot of people about. I feel like if you had a project you cared about, you might be more likely to keep it to yourself and not really tell anyone about it. But you definitely have this side where you do need to create and you need to tap into your imagination and you need to dream a little. Like, it's important for you to get to do something emotionally fulfilling, even if it's not a prominent part of your career. I also feel like you guys are pretty fixed when it comes to your beliefs, and it's in a way where you don't really care about fitting in or making things awkward. Like, if you were in a situation where somebody made a joke, let's say, that you thought was inappropriate for whatever reason, and I don't mean like inappropriate as in it being a dirty joke, but inappropriate in terms of like not in alignment with your morals. If everyone else in the room kind of laughed at that joke, I feel like you'd be the one to say, well, that wasn't funny. You really don't care about being liked or pandering to people. You definitely have that sort of independent streak and those vibes of like, you kind of just do what you want and you're not saying what people want to hear to make anyone happy. You might be kind of very business minded, like you have an awareness of what's going to bring you success, but you're also not going to do something that compromises your morals. It wouldn't surprise me if actually you had Aquarius and Capricorn placements, like maybe you are a Saturn dominant person generally. Some of you could have really great bone structure, is something I'm getting. But yeah, to me, the Emperor just always radiates like 10th house, boss, daddy kind of energy. And please don't interpret daddy as a gendered term, but it's just making me think like, I want to say some of you are the tops in your relationships. Or you just have this energy about you that's kind of like, don't worry, I got this. It screams competency. Even if you don't identify with being the person who's always in charge, it's like you could be. You're fully capable of it, is what I want to say. So that is what I'm getting for your Oracle reading, Pile 5. That was all about your energy. But now we are going to move along to the tarot portion, and we are going to be asking what it feels like to be yours. So this is the point where hopefully you know whether this is your pile or not. And now we are going to be asking what your loved ones feel about their experience of being on the receiving end of your devotion. Thank you so much for listening so far, and I will see you at your tarot. Hi Pile 5 Collective, welcome back to the tarot portion of your reading. Without hesitation, let's get started and have a look at the cards that we pulled for you. I'm just going to put these cards away. Don't worry if not all of the cards are in frame. I will lay the cards and then I will check the camera to see if they're in frame. But yeah, let's get started. Let's have a look at what we get. So we have got the 9 of Cups, and the clarifier for the 9 of Cups is the 8 of Pentacles. And we have got the 9 of Pentacles, and we have got the King of Wands as the clarifier for the 9 of Pentacles. We have also got the 2 of Cups, and the clarifier for the 2 of Cups is the 6 of Wands. We have got the Page of Swords, and the clarifier for the Page of Swords is the Hermit in reverse. We have got the Chariot. The clarifier for the Chariot is the 5 of Wands. Yeah, okay, Pile 5, being yours feels like winning a competition. It feels like getting the prize. It feels like securing first place in something you've worked really, really hard for, because becoming yours is no easy task. Again, you radiate that energy of exclusivity. You have this vibe of like, you can apply, but not everybody is going to be accepted into the program. Like, this is only for the elite. I don't know why, but I'm getting that sound that's like, you are one of my elite employees. And I know I mentioned a similar thing in your oracle, but I do just want to reiterate at this point, this is not in like a mean girl I'm too good for you, you can't sit with me kind of way. It's just, you do not have unlimited time to spare. That's the thing. And you don't want to waste it investing in the wrong people. A give and take partnership is very important to you, and so you want to make sure the people you surround yourself with are people who are giving something to you and not just taking. And also, you have this energy about you where you very much acknowledge, like, I am not for everyone and not everyone is for me. And I know that sounds kind of like an obvious concept, but there are some people who will hang out with just anyone just to have some company. A lot of people don't like being alone, so anyone is better than no one. They don't like being with their own thoughts. Some people, I guess, kind of settle because they value quantity over quality, but you're kind of the opposite way. But like some people, they would rather have, as one example, 20 close friends, so they always have someone to go out with or to chill with, even if some of those people they don't necessarily really value or really like as people. Whereas again, for you, it's kind of the opposite. You might value just having those few friends who you know really align with you on that deeper level. And it's the same even for, like, for example, romantic relationships. There's a lot of people who will compromise their morals if they find someone physically attractive. And even if they say, like, you know, well, I'm not going to marry this person because we're clearly not on the same page, you know, morally or politically or whatever, but I'll still mess around with them and have my fun with them. Like, I'll still let them get close to me because on a physical level, I'm into them. And this isn't me in any way shaming more casual relationships, because I don't think there's anything wrong with having fun as long as everyone is on the same page and consenting to that. But I know for me personally, I can't even be physically attracted to someone if I think that they're not a good person on the inside. So I wouldn't even entertain them for a bit of fun, because spending any amount of time with people who I don't align with, even if it's just casual, would still feel like a waste of time to me. If I wanted the casual fling, that's fine, but even the casual fling, I'd much rather have with someone I also thought was a good person as well as attractive. And I know that sounds obvious, but a lot of people, you know, don't live that way. But it kind of feels like you are similar in terms of the relationships you choose. It feels like you are quite intentional in regards to the people you choose to surround yourself with. I think in some way your reputation is important to you. And it's not in the way of being like, oh, my partner needs to be this high or earn this amount of money to impress other people. It's not over like the superficial stuff. It's more like, you know, you have worked hard to cultivate a life where you live authentically and where you align with certain morals. And you don't want to put your reputation at risk by being around people who threaten that. You're not going to be embarrassed by someone acting out and ruining your reputation. So you stay away from drama and messy people. You keep your close friends close, but you keep your circle small and everybody else pretty far away. You keep other people at arm's length. And so I think when people are yours, there's this huge sense of accomplishment. They feel proud that they're one of the few individuals who got the chance. It makes them feel like, you know, I must be pretty special to be selected and kind of go on this exclusive mission. It kind of makes them feel like, well, I know I must be a pretty cool person because Pal 5 wouldn't give me the time of day if I wasn't. They know that you can pick up on the little things, you have that attention to detail, so if they were given any kind of red flags, you wouldn't have let them in the first place. The example I'm getting in my head, it's almost like when a celebrity does an Oscars speech or something, and they're like, you know, it's an honour to receive this award, and they're getting really emotional about it. That's how people feel when they are yours. That's how it feels to be loved by you, because again, they know that you don't just invest that energy into anyone and everyone. Like, I think it does take quite a lot for you to lower your guard and let people in. But it does feel as though once they are in, you really do invest in them. Like, you give them absolutely everything. And it definitely seems like you don't flip through different friends or relationships easily. Like, once you are down for someone, once someone is in your inner circle, that is going to be your friend or your person for life. Like, there is no going back. That's your ride or die. But it almost kind of feels like there might be a series of tests they have to go through to get there. So when people pass the tests and get the reward of your love, it feels akin to like climbing the highest mountain. It's exhausting, but once you've done it, nobody can take that achievement away from you. It's that sort of thing. And when I say test, I don't mean this is anything toxic, like you're trying to trap people or set them up for failure. But I definitely feel like you're someone who is good at facing reality when somebody shows you who they are, and you don't shy away from asking the important questions when it comes to deciding whether the people who want to be in your life should be in your life. So for example, some people, if they were on a first date or something like that, would be like, oh, I'm not asking about politics because I don't want to scare them away. So they continue to invest time on that person, not knowing if they even align morally. But you will go pretty deep with people right off the bat. You're not afraid of looking a bit awkward, and you don't mind asking the tough questions. You also don't mind disagreeing with people. You're just kind of like, let's cut the bullshit, tell me where you stand on this. And depending on their answer, you're going to decide whether they're somebody who you could see as a part of your life. And some people, you know, they might think this is harsh or they're going to say that it's too much, but I personally disagree, because one thing you'll never get back is your time. And I think you know that, Power 5, you know how to spend it wisely. The example that's popping into my head right now, and I actually just saw a clip of this morning when I was scrolling on Insta, and I haven't even watched the show it's from yet, but I just saw a little snippet of it. I'm pretty sure it was from Love is Blind or something like that. It was definitely from some kind of reality show, and I'm really sorry because I can't remember the names of these specific people in the clip. It was a white couple and the lady was blonde. I remember that. Don't remember anything about the man. He just looked like a man. I don't know what these individuals are like as people. Please remember that. I just saw a 2-minute clip. But if you know who I'm talking about, let me know. I do need to watch Love is Blind eventually. But yeah, anyway, the woman was saying she's apprehensive to marry this man because when she had asked him about societal issues, I believe she asked him about BLM and about what his church believed regarding LGBTQ plus people. He basically gave her an answer like, I haven't really thought about it. And that quite rightly concerned her. And even though she had feelings for him, it made her rethink, like, is this the person for me? And some people might try to say that that's not a reason to end things with somebody. Some people might give that man the benefit of the doubt and be like, well, maybe he just doesn't really have an answer yet because it doesn't affect him personally, but maybe he can be educated on these issues. And I can kind of see both sides of that argument, but for me, I wouldn't want to be with somebody who only cares about an issue when it personally affects them. Like, that's a red flag to me. And I do realise there's nuance. Like, for example, me being a woman, I might not expect a man to know absolutely everything about women's rights issues or discuss it on a first date, but I would expect him to, at the very least, have some kind of stance, have some kind of opinion, because if he has absolutely nothing to say, he has not been paying attention, and that's a red flag. I could not see myself being with somebody who cares so little about the basic rights of other humans. And whilst I'm always happy, personally, to have educational discussions and educate where I can, all parties involved have to actively want to learn. And if someone has like no opinion whatsoever and doesn't make any effort to gain an understanding or be curious about it, why should the person who is most affected by these issues do all of the emotional labor and direct their energy towards that individual who is just shrugging their shoulders and saying like, haven't really thought about it, when Google is literally available at their fingertips? Like, I just think there is a massive difference between someone saying, you know, oh, I've recently been reading up on this issue, but I don't really understand XYZ. Are you able to give some perspective on this? Or do you have any resources you'd recommend? There's a difference between that and then being completely apathetic and saying like, not my problem. And that was kind of a long-winded way of me trying to explain that I don't think you're somebody who has much of a tolerance for people who are dispassionate. Like, I think for you, even if somebody disagreed with your stance, you'd rather have a nuanced debate than deal with somebody who just didn't care about the causes you care about at all. Like, I think the thing is, you don't want to surround yourself with people who are just getting in the way and shrugging their shoulders while you create the revolution. You want people who are concerned about the same causes you are. You want people fighting with you, not people just sitting on the sidelines making you do all the work. I can imagine, like, if you were talking to someone and a topical issue got brought up, I can imagine you getting more angry if the person said, like, hey, let's not talk about that, you're ruining the vibe, than if someone outright disagreed with you. Like, if a person disagreed with you, at least you can keep the discussion open and put them in their place if need be, with your stats and your facts and your logic. But if someone tries to say to you like, hey, let's not talk about this, let's just avoid the topic, I think that kind of makes you rage because you're like, don't tell me what I can and can't talk about. And all of this is to say, like, you know, I'm not saying that every single person has to agree with absolutely everything you say, but I think to be yours, a person has to have a certain something about them. They have to have strength in their convictions. They have to be intentional with their beliefs like you are, and they have to be willing to want to change the world alongside you. So when people are yours, they feel like You know, I am one of the chosen ones. They feel like they must have something going for them to be selected by you. And it's no easy feat to become yours. I feel like there's a lot of people who have tried to approach you too quickly or to rush things with you, try to make something happen with you, or act like you and them are friends when you really don't know them like that. And you put up an opposition to that. You're like, no, you are not getting in. We are not friends like that. And so if someone is yours, like if you say, you know, that's my man, that's my woman, that's my bestie, that is a pleasure and a privilege because you don't claim people like that. You could have a lot of people referring to you as if you are friends, but on your side, it takes you a lot to deem someone worthy of that title. Like if you have a colleague, they might call you their work friend, and it's not like you'd say anything bad about that person, but you might kind of be like, no, that's my colleague, we're not friends, because it's going to take more than someone just working alongside you in a similar role for you to feel that strongly about someone. But once you do feel strongly about someone, you are in it for the long haul. You are very focused on them and they feel that energy because you truly invest in quality, not quantity. So again, they feel like, you know, I must be quality. I must be pretty darn special. A lot of people could feel like they are kind of punching above their weight when they are yours. Some of them feel like, you know, I hit the jackpot or I just got a really good one. Like, what did I do to deserve this? Some of them, it's like they're waiting for you to discover they're not as cool as you thought they were because they see you as like so cool, so confident, so interesting, so passionate. And sometimes it's kind of intimidating for them. But they know that if they have been chosen to be yours, it must mean they do have something great to offer. And even if they haven't identified what it is yet, they are going to continue to put in that effort because they feel like it's a wish fulfillment to be next to you. Being yours feels like spending so long on the outside looking in and then finally getting to enjoy the finer side of life and not wanting to go back. It also feels like having someone who has the morals to be loyal, to be dedicated, to fully commit. It's like once somebody is claimed as yours, they know that you are always going to have their back, unless they do something to mess it up. Like if this is a best friend, this is a best friend who knows in their absence, you are not going to do them dirty. Like if that is your person, that is your person. You're going to stick up for them. You're not going to let anyone badmouth them. You are going to protect their reputation. If this is a love interest, this person knows you're not flighty. You're not just going to dip out and go with the next person who gives you attention. Like you're truly for them. And it's like once they experience that feeling of riding high by being this big part of your life, they do not want to let that go for anything. So they're going to continue putting that work in to make you feel appreciated because they know that you won't want to settle for mediocrity. Being yours means having an understanding that because you are confident in your own values and what you desire in another person, and because you're emotionally healthy and you have a lot of self-respect, it's knowing that you will be able to emotionally detach and be fine with or without them if they do something to undermine or disrespect the connection. To be yours is to have that relationship where you both respect each other's freedom, but ultimately you know you are first and foremost loyal to each other. You belong to them and they belong to you, and all the beautiful opportunities that come with loving you will always be theirs as long as they maintain respect for that relationship. You won't give up as long as they don't, basically. But if they do something to harm that, it's also knowing that you will leave them lonely really, really quickly. You will cut things off without a second thought because ultimately you love and respect yourself. And anyone you are sharing a life with in whatever capacity, they need to be a teammate for you. They need to be someone who supports you on your mission of making the world better. Being loved by you means understanding that sometimes you do have to go inwards and you do have to withdraw to recharge emotionally because being so tapped into the collective consciousness all the time can be exhausting. And sometimes it can be isolating, sometimes it can feel lonely, especially if you are kind of that extroverted introvert and you can be in a sea of people but still feel alone because the people you're surrounded by, you know, it sometimes doesn't always seem like they care about the same things that you do or they don't feel things as intensely. Being loved by you can sometimes feel like you are that person who is shouting into the void and saying like, does anyone feel this too? But then there's this tiny voice that shouts back like, yes, I feel it too. And we can be alone in this together. Being loved by you feels like two outcasted weirdos finding each other. It feels like people who have never belonged finding their soul tribe. Being yours is this feeling of like, we are in this together, we are fighting for the same thing even if nobody else is, or we understand even if nobody else does. I'm also getting the vibe of like stolen glances in a room full of people, inside jokes that only you guys understand and nobody else could. It's this true feeling of being known, of being seen through. It's the feeling of being understood. It is unspoken words, and this overwhelming sense of closeness and oneness. It's this sense of like, we are the only two people in the world who get it, or, you know, nobody has ever felt a love like this before. It's understanding on a level that defies any kind of superficial exchange. It's like telepathy. I wouldn't be surprised if you have these connections where you could take one look at each other and intuitively just read each other's minds. They don't have to say anything, but you give each other this look of like, I know, or I feel it too, or I'm thinking the same. And you say it all without saying anything at all. So that is what I'm getting for you, Pal 5. I really, really hope you enjoyed this reading today. If you did like the reading, please like the video, please comment, let me know what resonated if you get a chance, or just let me know which pal you picked if you don't feel comfortable. Let me know what resonated. That would help me and help this channel so much. And on a personal level, I just really enjoy hearing from you guys. Please consider subbing if you haven't done so already. And with all of that said, I just want to thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to this reading. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Take care, and I will see you in the next one, Pal 5.